know how to do this. I don't know how to wait.
You definitely know how to have a meltdown.
So stressed.
Might be a professional meltdowner.
Into the people of this country and see what's happening. I am 48 years old and I have never experienced anything like this and never thought I would in this country. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to get through the next couple days.
It appears as though this gigantic piece of won the election. And as much as I hate him because he's a gigantic criminal, authentically horrible human being, I also
Doesn't even
blame
make sense.
the Democrats for doing this. How hard is it to beat him? It's not that hard. He is a fake ass mother who is not a real human being. He's a piece of Democrats. How could you not beat him? Why?
Right now.
Could you not beat him?
Wow.
To go to work.
Yeah, good call.
How am I supposed to go to work and
Like
do
exist,
all of
yeah.
the normal daily activities?
I know. How are you gonna do it?
We all just
Yo, appreciate your spirit.
get exponentially harder.
Right.
And I just want my mom. But my mom voted for him.
That's great.
I'm surprised at the result, but I'm not surprised. As a woman of color, I
Oh,
am
here we
so
go.
hopeful.
Right.
As a woman of color, every time I hear that shit, I throw up in my mouth.
To be elected president of this country.
Oh, I forgot.
How's my day? It's been
about
good, man.
Kamala's husband.
It's been
And
chilling.
how weird that guy is, man. I forgot about that guy. I really did. Thanks for
I'm
reminding
just chilling, dude. Not really doing fuck
I
all.
think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of
What are you doing?
referendum.
cultural resentment in this
Oh.
country.
Cultural resentment. That's definitely what it is.
Yeah, right.
All right.
That's why a majority of women voted for Trump, too. Makes sense.
None of us are stressed about the election, right?
Keep telling yourself
It's
that,
all,
darling.
we all are gonna just go have the best
Look
night,
at this
the
one.
best night's sleep of our lives, aren't we?
Oh. My mom is freaking out. Kamala, please do your thing.
Go, go.
Bro, this shit
Guys,
kills me.
we literally don't even have to panic. We literally don't even have to freak out right now. We don't even have to fucking, like, we don't have to freak out. We don't have to freak out because it's not even real. Because, bitch, recount the vote!
Guys, I just voted, and I chose family.
Let's end this reign of terror now.
I chose family. I chose women. I chose America. I love you.
We're moving on. I'm moving on. We're moving on.
Oh.
I love all of this. Let's do it.
Oh, God. This one's hard, man. Oh.
You voted against me. You voted against my right to live.
Oh.
You voted against all the women
Oh.
and their rights.
Right.
I hope you enjoy your cheap fucking gas.
There's no way some of these are real. It has to be an act, some of them, right?
Swear to God, if you idiots elect that demented man,
The Dementors! The Dementors!
place to the ground.
Forgive me for being a little emotional here,
You're forgiven.
but what the fuck is going on?
I know.
Redeem Togue, yo, Brennan Taylor, you're a fucking demon, dude.
All the people that's violating my freaking life right now are
Yo,
supporters.
why are all of these people, like, has anyone ever realized all of these people, bro, are always, like, just speaking straight nonsense? Like, the shit they say just doesn't even fucking make sense.
Y'all the only ones. Y'all see I
You
got
know?
my blue on. I done cried so
Well.
fucking much that.
Rock Helicho.
That's a red shirt.
I think it was sarcasm.
But I have to wear red because it's my freaking job. If I didn't have to wear this.
Oh, never mind. Never mind, it wasn't sarcasm. She's just fucking retarded. Alright, go. Go, 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 go. Go, Ninja, go, Ninja, go. Here you go. Go get him. Go get him. Holy fuck, boys. Alright. Yo, my bad, my bad. Some people just shouldn't be allowed to vote on God. I legit heard a girl say she always votes for the blue person. Like, bro. Yo, dude, I swear to God, when Trudeau was first coming into power in like 2012, like when he was first like became like a nominee for a nominee. When he first became a prime minister, I had chicks that I knew chicks that would sit there and say they only voted for him because he was hot, or people would be like, I only voted for him because he was gonna legalize weed. Like people like these are my friends and shit that just got the legal right to vote. It's just like fuck, man, dumb as shit, you know. Time is it? Fucking quarter after. I got like fucking half an hour, maybe 20 minutes. And then homeboy should be here, and then I'm fucking heading to Niagara, boys. Yo, don't worry, I'll take that token in a second. I haven't forgot. It's gonna fucking hurt me. This token will literally hurt me today, boys. I'm just saying. I was partying a little hard last night. Cheers. Man, there's like a split in my curtain, and it's just the sun's at the perfect spot where it just shines right in my fucking face, you know?
Right now, I don't even know what to do. I've never hated red so much in my life until now. I hate red. Hate the fact that I have to wear this color today.
Let them know.
I really do.
Yo, exactly, Spirit. Yo, that's facts. A lot of people today, man. Yo, dude, it's scary to say. A lot of people today are just highly uneducated, you know?
Let's see.
A lot of people can't even give you... I'm gonna be straight up. Trump supporters and Kamala supporters, a lot of them can't even give you good reasons as to why they're voting for the fucking president, other than the fact of some clickbait title that they read on fucking CNN or some shit. You know what I mean? No one can literally sit there and give them a justified, well, not anyone. A lot of people, I'd say probably above 90%. This is just arbitrary numbers, by the way. Just throwing them out there. But I'm saying like a high percentile of people don't even like understand what they're voting for. You know what I mean? Like you were saying. Like they just vote because they read a clickbait title. You know? The amount of people that I've had regurgitate clickbait fucking titles to me as fact is just insane. It's fucked. Anyways, back to the video. I love watching these people freak out. Makes me feel better about my life. Yo, what's up, Jay-Z?
He
about to tear shit up. Shit, I'd hate to suck and shit my whole sucking life. Yeah, I gotta cut it.
Yo, this chick was nuts. This bitch is crazy. I watched this chick's video. This bitch is crazy. Chillin', Jay. What are you saying? What time is it? 20 minutes. You're a demon. We're gonna have to exercise the demons.
Because, right? Coloring my hair, having my hair be long and luxurious.
Bro, this chick is legitimately fucking mentally ill.
Hot and all the things.
Just an opinion from someone outside looking in. Not hating or anything. I just think it's important to set the table here correctly, right? Like, let's put the fork where the fork goes. Let's put the glass where the glass goes. You know, we don't want things to be misplaced.
This guy's doing a shit ton of coke. You can hear it in his voice. What's your rarest drop? Probably my pets. Probably my pets. You can hear it in this guy's voice. Listen to his voice. He does tons of blow.
First, right? Then maybe a little supa, and then the main. Let's just.
You can just tell.
Right? Like, let's put the fork where the fork goes. Let's put the glass where the glass goes. You know, we don't want things to be misplaced.
Right there, that low.
Salad comes out first, right? Then maybe a little supa, and then the main. Let's just make sure things.
That
are
guy's
organized,
fucking
first
high.
and foremost.
That guy got high as shit the night
Here's
before he
how I'm
recorded
sure.
this. I guarantee it.
And it ain't fucking long. Additionally,
I'm willing to put money on it.
you ain't fucking skinny. You ain't skinny. Let's continue on.
That the patriarchy wants us to be, because clearly they don't give a shit about us. And I'm talking to you too, those of you ladies who have the internalized misogyny required to do what you
Ladies who have the
do.
internalized
Spirit of a woman in
misogyny.
power, that you'd rather cozy up to the
Bro,
webcam
the fucking.
just in case some crumbs fall
Oh,
off his plate.
dude. I love it. I love it. The cope.
She's white. Just wanna
That you may eat from them. We are embarrassing on the world stage. Oh God.
She identifies
Stop
as black,
talking to
though.
Men, divorce your husbands, leave your fucking boyfriends, leave them. They don't give a shit about you.
You know what's funny, Chad? It's always single women that are saying this shit. You know what I mean? It's always single women that say this shit.
Promise you, come over to this side. I will bake cookies. I will shave your head if you want me to.
It's always this women that say this nonsensical fucking crazy bullshit.
Wow. I really hope that one wasn't real. I think it is, though. She's literally cutting off her hair. Like in the video.
Our 47th President of the United States of America. This election was not even close, which I find odd considering Kamala Harris's rallies. However, how can that compete when you have Elon Musk paying $1 million per day to encourage people to vote for Donald Trump? Personally, I'm disgusted by that.
I mean,
disgusted enough.
You're disgusted by that, but Kamala could have done that. You know what I mean? What's stopping her from doing that? Like, nothing. She's just too cheap to. She couldn't get good enough endorsements.
My ex account. I'm disgusted enough to never order a Tesla as long as I shall
You
live.
probably can't even afford one, homie. What the fuck? He probably can't even afford
This is
one.
a big, huge part of the story that it's hard
Gary,
to
don't
even
put that
digest
in there,
fully
man.
at this moment. But you have Elon Musk, who owns Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days, X, who is a disinformation propagandist and now has a could potentially.
Man, it's weird. It's almost like these people don't have the control anymore. You know?
Bro, this is...
line to the Oval Office.
No. What?
What the fuck is this? Dude, look at this guy's hair. What the fuck? I'm interested to see how this one goes.
Mother. What?
Well, that didn't go the way we...
Bro, his voice. His voice. What the fuck is that? Well, it sounds like the guy from Family Guy. He sounds like yo. He sounds like this guy.
Giant mind.
He sounds like that guy.
We had hoped. Not at all. Or expected. Yeah, I mean, for him to be popular, are you
At Rainbow Rider.
I didn't
Rainbow
think
Rider.
our country was that full of racist
Bigots. No, he didn't say
Fascist. Okay, okay.
or
They're using two. they're using bigger two-syllable words now.
Plus on women, on people of
He had to be reminded by his wife what to say.
any color other than Blanco or Blanca or whatever.
Man, I hate when fucking white people feel ashamed of being white. It fucking makes me sick. Man, shit makes me fucking sick, dude. White and proud.
No, they don't care about the Blanca. at the Broncos. Yeah, so better go out there and get you a Bible because you're gonna be needing that shit now.
That's fucking funny, actually. I'm gonna be needing that shit now. Oh, I got like what, 15 minutes? Yo, Rad Roach, you fucking legend, dude. What are you saying, man? Dap me up, bud. Hit me with that big old fist bump, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry.
Bro, chow, I'm sorry. I gotta watch these. These are just so fucking funny. Some of them are gonna be repeats and shit. But I might not even be able to finish this whole video, but we'll see.
Have a female president, like, why not? Like, how much more qualified and intelligent and, like, perfect for the position do we have to be? Like, why?
I can't believe Trump's actually gonna win this fucking thing! Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm so pissed off! Fuck! 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 God damn it!
Yeah, it's just clickbait.
The U.S. president is Donald Trump.
For the astrology girlies, I just want to know, I have been studying Kamala's charts, and it looks like she is not only going to win, but she is going to be,
Yo, what's up, Sean?
the next 8 years in her chart look really, really strong. Trump's, not so much. Okay, so I was wrong. A lot of
Oh, dude.
astrologers were wrong. A lot of us were wrong. But if you think that right now is the time to tell me that you don't believe in astrology, who gives a about astrology right now, dude? Who literally cares about that? That is like the least of our worries.
Oh, dude, I'm so fucking dead. This is fucking fun. Oh, dude, this is fucking gold, man. I love this shit. It does, yeah. Yeah, sure, bro. Let me click. Oh, fuck, dude.
This is my career. I have built a life off of reading the stars for people and getting it right.
And getting it right? Clearly not. I mean, I guess nobody can go 100%, right? Yeah, I got baby too. Yeah. 15 minutes. Let me 2:15. Yeah, that should work. Okay, I'll take that toke, Sean. Just gotta fucking avoiding this. So look at this chick. She looks like an owl. You know, she looks like an owl with her eyes all fucking bugged out and shit. She looks like she did a bunch of MDMA. Yeah, that's real. Don't pick up the who?
But if you're gonna come into my
Don't pick up the ball if you don't want to play. What do you mean? Mess with the ball, you get the horns.
That, well, I'm no longer gonna believe in astrology after this. Who gives a
Yeah.
For real. Let's be for real right now. That is the last of our worries.
At least she's not sitting there crying over like, oh my god, the astrology's wrong. Bro, this chick is fucking funny, bro. This bitch is fucking funny. Her, this guy's gotta call me here soon. Like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing, bro. My buddy's gotta call me here soon. It's almost 2:30.
My mom can't lose her Social Security. We can't lose our Medicaid, our Medicare.
They're going to. What the fuck?
There are real things happening in the world right now, and I know that like you guys think this is some big gotcha.
I think she might have cancer or something. I'm not even trolling. I think this chick might have cancer.
But I don't give a if you think astrology is not real right now, because there is real life happening in this country.
I don't think there's a universe where Donald J. Trump wins all 3 of the blue wall states.
He won them in 2016.
We're not in 2016.
No, but
we have seen his reaction to COVID. We've seen January 6th insurrection. We've seen 2 impeachments. We've seen 34 felony convictions. This is not 2016.
If it was that close, you guys should be putting this thing away if that was the case.
Hey girlies, so just so you know, IUDs will last throughout the entirety of his presidency. So if you want to have somewhat of a choice over your body, you should probably go get one.
Yo, these chicks are
Look,
deranged, bro.
Sleep, but do y'all see this? Do you see it? Let me move in close. Y'all see that?
This is gonna fuck up her
Do y'all
body.
see that? What is going on, Trump 2024? I wasn't going to sleep until I see it, and look what I see. Look what I see. It is over. He flipped the world red. It is over. He flipped the world red. Trump 24.
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or 12-week abortion. Yours might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get
Guess we gotta wait another year,
focus
boys.
on not putting in
We want to get Trudeau the fuck out of here.
electing, putting back into
The
the White
liberal
House the
cuck.
person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, you know, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
The crazy thing to me is that if this guy does end up winning again, all of the people who voted for him will be like happy.
Why are they all women? I'm just realizing this. Why is it all women?
They'll just be celebrating. And everyone else, everyone who feels threatened by him is fucking scared. Like, we're scared for our lives. We're scared for our friends. Like, you have pro-life women dying because their doctors are scared to treat them because of the repercussions of his last presidency. How did we get here? How did we get here? To know that there is that much ignorance and that much hate in this country. It's so terrifying. It's so terrifying. How could you do this? How can you claim to be a Christian or anyone of moral values and support someone when every word out of his mouth is hate, when he wants to pardon people who took over the Capitol? You do not do this to people that you love and care about. If you have a woman in your life, if you have an LGBTQ person in your life, if you have anyone in your life who's not white, how did we get here? Someone tell
Lady, you are white, you stupid fuck. Like, what? What?
me, please. Someone really tell me, please. Because the only way
Yeah,
I
what
see it
was-
is that, like, either he cheated and that was his secret, or this country is built on so much hate, and we might never get out of this.
People in
If
this
you
world are
voted
so
for
much
him,
more deranged than I thought,
you
bro.
are
I
dead
swear
to
to
me.
God. Holy
Go
shit.
ahead and block me. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I really don't.
When people get in their emotions, they're just talking nonsense, I swear.
He will self-destruct. The problem that I see
Bro, I found Einstein.
is not Trump. The problem is that those that can be appealed to in this way and how we've got to bring this country together. And we cannot do it by being like January 6th ourselves. There would not be a January 6th on our side. We will deal with this in a dignified way and try to put the pieces together. So we've lost, but we lost a battle. The war is not over.
Well, Rev, let's talk about, you talked about gender and race. Let's talk about race. Donald Trump fared very well with Hispanic voters, especially Hispanic men. The numbers are coming in still a little early, but I think he did better with black men than was expected in the past. What do you think pushed that, especially with the Hispanic voters going for Donald Trump as much as they did? Because that made a big difference.
I think that a lot of it was he was able to sell a lot of Hispanic voters that immigration was a threat to them, that some of the people coming across the border was a threat to them. I think that...
So, yo, chat, in America, is there actually a lot of people coming across the border?
There's a lot of misogyny. And I think that we've got to deal with the reality that he appealed to this whole false macho thing that some black men and some macho, Latino men
I can't even speak straight.
Guys, they just called it. They just called it for Pennsylvania, Charlie. It has
Fox
been
just called.
Just reporting it. Let's go, baby.
Charlie,
We got
what is
Trump
the
back in
number?
White House.
What is the number?
Is that it? Happened. Remember where you were when you realized that the Uniparty and all of these, you know, just the establishment.
Just like everyone started dancing.
Just in case we won Pennsylvania.
Come on, bro, you gotta hurry up.
Talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Tasty Cake.
He just won Pennsylvania. Who
Still
said
showing 90%.
he won Pennsylvania? He won.
He won.
I told you. I told you.
This nigga going crazy, y'all. He going crazy, crashing out. They ain't reporting it. Who reporting it, bro? Hold on.
Fair enough.
Who reporting it? I don't see it nowhere.
He won. It's over.
I don't see it.
Bro, go to decision desk. He won.
Yeah, it's just a decision desk.
Bro, it's official. It's done. He won. He won.
To the country, look at the map.
And lastly, because I can't believe I didn't hit this community yet.
Doing it for the stimulus. Y'all ain't do nothing good with this first stimulus. When things like ringing.
Boo. If it isn't as good as I thought it was gonna be, it's unfortunate. Oh, there's like red pill garbage on my feed right now because I've been watching Donald Trump videos.
Listen, there's a good chance somebody's trying to hack your website right now. You got.
On New Year's Eve 2018, just after 11 p.m., a terrifying 911 call was received by the St. Joseph Police Department.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
I need help. I need help. My husband was shot.
Yeah, I'll be right back, chat. BRP boys, do you like Eminem? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Chicka chicka chicka. Yeah, he's alright. A little bit overrated, but he's alright. In my opinion, there's better rappers, you know? But that's the beauty of it, you know what I mean? There's always just opinion based, there's no actual factual. Rocky, you're a pain in my ass. You know that? Yeah, I'm back. What's your favorite Eminem song, Brendan? What are you doing there, young buck? Eh? What are you up to? What are you up to, young soldier? What are you up to, Rocky? Lakers might be trading for Brandon Ingram again. That's just blasphemous work, bro. Come on, bro. Get going soon. Yo, Hazy, what's up? I really like White Trash Party. Yeah, it's a banger for sure. Definitely a banger. Nah, man, get the fuck on the bed and lay down, dude. My dog's like sitting here trying to cry to get into my room, and now he's fucking wanting out. Like, nah, I ain't playing these games, buddy. You know how it works, bucko. You're either in or out, like I said. Back. Smelling some chronic. How am I doing? I just had to blow my nose so bad. It was plugged. Be good now though. Just just chilling, man. Honestly, I'm gonna watch this video here shortly, I guess. What's up, Rocky? That's my boy. Yo, Zeno, what's up, buddy?
Okay, stay on the line with me. Ma'am, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath from me, okay? How many shots did you hear, ma'am? Ma'am? Hello? Okay.
Following this call, first responders were dispatched to 2086 Colfax Avenue. When Officer Jay Peppers arrived on the scene, the paramedics were already tending to the victim, 23-year-old Tyrone Hassel III. His wife, Kamaya Hassel, was clearly distraught.
Probably the one that shot him.
Tyrone was still breathing, but his condition was critical. His body was covered in blood due to 2 gunshot wounds to the head, one in his neck and one in his shoulder.
Can I
Kamaya
fucking
was
just
crying
mine this
hysterically
rock?
as she
Come on.
attempted to get
Thank you.
into the ambulance with Tyrone.
Hey, 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 back up! Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, no, 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 no. What happened? Do you have any idea what? Come on, yeah, I know.
As paramedics worked quickly to save Tyrone, Kamaya called his father and informed him of what had happened. Within minutes, his father and grandmother arrived on the scene.
How the hell he get shot? You know who he is? Son, this Tyrone Hassel III.
Hey, bud. I know
The
this is-
third,
we gotta get you out of here.
damn,
Scare
brother.
the scene, okay? We got to collect some evidence and find out what the hell's going on here, okay? But we got to get you out here a second, okay? We'll talk to you in a minute. Do you live here, bud?
I live here.
Okay, what's your name?
My grandson is probably there by himself.
Okay, I'll go take care of that for you if he is.
He's
we'll get you
one.
in. Okay, we'll get you in there, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Now with the family nearby, officers spoke with them to better assess the situation.
Do you have any
Damn,
idea
bro.
what
This
happened?
guy got shot in the head twice, though. That's pretty fucking. That's a kind of a passion, you know? The dad's pretty chill about it, too. It's fucking wild. Right back, boys. Okay, we back, baby. There we go.
No, he just brought us something to eat.
Okay.
I was sitting on the couch eating, and then I just heard gunshots.
Okay.
And I ran to put my son in the room, and I came outside, and he was laying on the cart.
Okay, how many gunshots did you hear?
I don't know. I just heard a lot.
Do you have any idea how this happened?
I'm not sure.
I mean, this is serious, okay? I don't know what his condition is, but it does not look good, okay? So, if you know something,
I don't think he was beefing with anybody.
now's the time.
According to Kamaya, Tyrone and his family were at a friend's house about 2 miles away to celebrate the new year. She stayed home to look after their 1-year-old son, who they nicknamed Chunk. Just before 11
Chunk.
p.m., Tyrone momentarily left the party. He drove home in his black
What a
Dodge
name.
pickup truck to drop off some food for Kamaya and Chunk. He only stayed for a few minutes, and as he exited the residence, Kamaya heard multiple gunshots. She quickly picked up Chunk and ran into the bedroom until the gunshots stopped. She cautiously looked out the front door, only to see Tyrone lying motionless beside his truck. She immediately dialed 911. After getting Chunk out of the house and securing the scene, officers continued to speak with the family to learn more about Tyrone's background.
That's my oldest son, and I've been so proud of him. He went to college on honors. He left college and went and joined the Army. Yeah, he's active military right now, right? He's active military. So.
In 2015, Tyrone joined the United States Army, where he met his wife Kamaya. From February to October of 2018, Tyrone and Kamaya were deployed to South Korea. For the 2 months leading up to the shooting, they were stationed at Fort Stewart in Georgia, but had gone home to spend the Christmas holidays with their family.
My son don't have no file, anything. He don't have a record. He told me a long time ago, Daddy, if I go to jail, somebody frame me. My son walked a straight line his entire life.
You guys know if he has any issues with anybody?
He in the army. He just came here for vacation.
So you just on leave and
Is he originally from here?
Yeah. But he's been gone for years. Somebody came from over there.
That's actually sad.
You can't even get in this house from over here.
Different theories were being tossed around as the police spoke with the family and neighbors. One theory was that this was simply a celebration gone wrong. According to reports, some residents of St. Joseph Township would ring in the new year by firing gunshots into the air. Could some of those bullets have hit Tyrone? Tyrone's father had a different opinion. He had a feeling that this was an attempted murder, and that his son's friend, Darius Carter, may have been the shooter. Apparently, Tyrone's half-brother Benny recently stole Darius's phone. So, the theory was that Darius meant to kill Benny, but mistakenly killed Tyrone instead.
More than likely, Benny was probably the target. He just happened to step out at the wrong damn time. If I had to guess, that's what my theory on this whole thing is.
Another theory was that this was simply a robbery turned deadly.
This may be a robbery, dude. We need to know if he had money. We need to know if
somebody had to be laying in wait for his ass.
This was also questionable.
Yeah, someone was
since
definitely
Tyrone's truck
stalking,
and the
like,
valuables
prey.
inside were untouched, despite the fact that his keys were lying right next to him.
you got anything in here.
And then a black duffel bag.
Shell casings were scattered around the crime scene, and the truck and fence were littered with bullet holes.
So whatever happened right here, huh?
There's one, 2, 3. You got 2 right here. Okay. I think I saw 5 just by the truck alone. There's also a bullet hole in the fence to the left. Okay. Whoever shot him was either laying in wait or walked up on him because they shot him right up next to his truck right outside the door. It was a point-blank shot, I'm sure.
Somebody knows something.
All of the evidence was collected and sent to the state crime lab. Tyrone was rushed to Lakeland Hospital for further treatment.
He's at the hospital right now, and Tyrone, everybody's up there. I'm gonna be honest, it does not look good. Oh no!
Tyrone's stepmother LaShonda worked at the same hospital that he was being transported to. She saw him being rushed into the operating room, clinging to life. But it was too late. Moments later, Tyrone Hassel III was pronounced dead. 10 hours later, on January 1st, 2019, police had a formal interview with Tyrone's father.
I think I know who did this to him.
He doubled down on his belief that Darius Carter had intended to kill Benny, but mistakenly killed Tyrone instead.
So you think Benny was the target? Yeah. I'll be honest with you, that's what we're thinking. I mean, that's, your son ain't got no beef with nobody. There ain't no reason for anybody here to be after him.
To follow up on this lead, police
That's
also
crazy.
interviewed
It's so
Darius,
sad,
but
man.
it quickly became clear that this theory was unlikely. Darius had an alibi. He was confirmed to be out of town at a New Year's Eve party on the night of the shooting. With that theory debunked, law enforcement continued their investigation by bringing a police canine to the crime scene. This canine detected a scent behind a shed in the backyard. Officers also noticed footprints, which they followed to the driveway of a vacant house for sale. The investigators deduced that whoever had shot Tyrone may have parked their getaway vehicle in this driveway. They canvassed the nearby area and eventually got a lead. An elderly couple named Walter and Fern Nost told the police that they saw an unfamiliar car parked in the vacant driveway.
It's always the old couples.
Hey,
So vigilant.
How are you?
Hungry as ever.
Hungry as
They
ever.
saw the driver get out of
What
the
a
car,
greeting.
grab something from the back seat, and soon after, they heard multiple gunshots.
Because he was here, what, 2 or 3 days ago? And parked there.
The same way.
When they looked out the window just after midnight, the car was gone. After notifying the public of the shooting, multiple tips came in from local callers. Unfortunately, each tip only led to dead ends. That was until January 11th, when the St. Joseph Police Department received an anonymous phone call. The caller claimed to have important information regarding the shooting. Apparently, while Kamaya and Tyrone were stationed in Korea, Kamaya had an affair with another man.
Why do you think this happened the way you do?
Okay. I'll help you with that. They were all in Korea, and that's where it started. He and the girl had a relationship going on, and that the guy that died had said something to him, so they had words, and then he had threatened him. You know what I mean?
And what I think I heard you understand is this relationship started in Korea, and there was a words exchanged or a confrontation between the husband, Tyrone, and the killer there.
Right. I don't know if it's there or here.
Okay.
No. The only thing is that the funeral is tomorrow, you guys.
Bro, I love Jamaican
The
accents,
man
dude.
Kamaya allegedly
That
had
shit's
an affair
hot.
with was a military truck driver, 24-year-old Jeremy Cuellar, nicknamed Quay. St. Joseph authorities immediately contacted the Army Criminal Investigations Division, urging other military personnel to reach out with information regarding Tyrone's death. One of Jeremy's close friends, Jaquan Hamilton, came forward with reason to believe that Jeremy was involved in the murder. He started by giving his first impression of Jeremy.
What can you tell me about Jeremy Cuellar?
Cuellar, yeah.
Tell me about him.
Man, it was cool. Met him right before we went to the crib.
Okay. So would y'all hang out regularly, things like that? Okay. So any relationships between any of those people in that group going on?
I mean, in Korea, I knew Quinn asked me to mess around. Yeah, her husband called her.
Okay.
When Tyrone found out about the affair, it led to a heated confrontation between him, Jeremy, and Kamaya. Shortly after, Jeremy told Jaquan that Buddy...
Yo, I knew that bitch wasn't
and that
innocent.
He wanted to do it during the Christmas
You guys are
holidays.
killing me with these
Jaquan
Stoic City
believed that
boys.
Kamaya
Holy
and
shit,
Jeremy
let's go.
planned to kill Tyrone
I love
together,
it.
and that the desire to go through with the plan was mutual. Jaquan wasn't the only one to come forward. Sergeant Tadarius Golston also spoke with investigators, claiming to have sold Jeremy a Ruger 9mm and a Glock 23 in mid-December of 2018.
He's not too savvy with guns, but he was like, hey, man, do you know anybody that has a Glock 40? And I was like, what do you want about this? And he's like, yeah, sure. Get the firearm. He asked me, he was like, so how do you
Do
use
it, Johnny boy. You and me, baby.
Army, you don't know how to use it. And then I sold it to him.
Gotta turn on the nail first.
Something down to 400.
At this point in the investigation, Kamaya was staying with Tyrone's family. Later that night, Tyrone's father received a call from Detective Andrew Longuski. He was told that he needed to come down to the station immediately and to bring Kamaya with him. Upon arriving, detectives instantly took Kamaya to a separate room. They then told Tyrone's father to return home because
Cheers,
they
brother.
only needed to talk to Kamaya, and it was going to be a long night. Right off the bat, Kamaya denied having any knowledge about the murder that she hadn't already shared. Detective Longuski told her that they knew about the affair with Jeremy.
He just started working you? Did it start in Korea? Is that where everything started going? Because there's no doubt about it. This whole relationship's going.
In Korea, that's where it started. Like, we weren't sexual or anything, but we were really close.
But you are now.
We're really close.
You guys were probably sexual somewhere throughout all this. You have to be to have this kind of, for him to get this hold on you, he's had to break through sexually to you, I'm guessing, first.
Not even just sexually.
It's like we vibe.
The tie, like, nothing me not wanting to be with him, but just how I was being treated. I was just feeling so bad. And it's just like he was just there, like, listening and everything. Like, he listened, like, he listened to me, and
He listening to you and just laughing like, listen what this dumb motherfucker got to
He
deal with.
suggested that Kamaya should take a polygraph test and give her side of the story before she winds up in trouble. She agreed to take the test and failed miserably on all fronts. When Detective Longuski confronted her with
Look at the
results,
change in posture.
he also lied to her, saying that they had already spoken with Jeremy and he was trying to pin the blame on her.
I believe there's a lot of things going on. I believe Jeremy's a manipulative person. You're not the one pulling the trigger. You need to get out front of this for your son, because you have a future. And I'm telling you, when they come and talk to me, I want to...
Yo, these women are devious out here, boys. Careful, gentlemen.
Without a doubt you are, but don't let him put you underneath the bus, because that's where it's going right now. Because this isn't something you planned.
These bitches will get you killed.
He got into your head. You guys are working together. He's playing you, and I don't mean it in a bad way. We all get played. We've all been in that situation because we have...
This was a major turning point in the interrogation. Kamaya opened up, providing a detailed account of the murder plot.
So, when we were in Korea, I can't really pinpoint exactly when it was. And then I had this big argument, and then, I came back into the building. I was talking to Jeremy. I'm like, man, I don't really know anyone. Like, and he was like, I can handle that. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, I can handle it. Like, I get that guy, I get it go.
According to Kamaya, they chose to carry out their plan during Christmas holidays because Jeremy would be in Chicago, about 100 miles away from St. Joseph, Michigan. They felt that this would be less suspicious than killing him while they were all together in Korea.
It was just planned in Korea. It wasn't to be done in Korea. It was just planned in Korea when we got back to the States.
Kamaya then said that she and Jeremy communicated through Snapchat. Apparently, Jeremy drove from Chicago to Michigan several times, looking for the best...
Dude, that's
time
like
to
the
strike.
father
In
of her
fact,
kid.
He had actually driven to Michigan just days before New Year's Eve to monitor Tyrone's movements.
And then he was out there, and he was watching the house the whole time. I told him that he was bringing us back something.
What surprised detectives about Kamaya's story was that she and Jeremy had started plotting Tyrone's murder only a few months after the two had met. Was this purely an act in the name of love, or was there more to their motive? Well, it turns out that if an active service member dies, the surviving spouse is entitled to an insurance payout of approximately $400,000.
Well, why would you just divorce him? Was it because he had some good money to spare out for your kid? I mean, is the money part of it?
The money is part of it, yes.
Okay.
But main reason being is because I just felt like if I would have called it off, like Jeremy probably would have like been upset at the fact that I called it off, and I didn't want him like mad at me.
Okay, but you understand though, calling it off would have saved your husband's life. You could have divorced him. Was Ty a bad man?
Not bad enough for this. And honestly, that's just like my remorse. That's really how I feel.
I believe you do. I don't believe.
Yo, this bitch is evil, dude. This bitch needs to be buried under the prison. She's fucking evil.
I did.
$400,000 is not what Ty is. You felt it was before. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah.
Would you say this is a 50-50 you guys were on this?
Yeah. Because I know all about it, and like I said, I probably could have stopped it, but the reason I
Bro,
did it
this is
because I felt
crazy.
like he was mad at me, or
This is the reason I have trust issues, bro.
yeah, because I just felt like I wasn't getting that love at home like I wanted to.
So, as far as that, are you sad that you planned this out with him?
Yeah, that's why, even though I wasn't being 100% truthful in the beginning, that's why I kept saying
Would
that.
you say you weren't 100% truthful? That's a kind of a major 100%. You were
Because of
you
me
were
saying that
25%. Would you agree to that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, I almost think with these guys,
But that's why when I kept saying that, if with what I know now, if I could, I would go back and not do it. I wouldn't even talk to Jeremy at all, knowing that everything would have gone like this.
But bitch, you like...
You called them back. You know what I'm saying? And I get why you called them back. I mean, knowing now, what do you think should happen to you right now?
I don't know, because my
Of course,
brother is guilty as him.
To wrap up, they had Kamaya sign a handwritten document as an admission of guilt. Following this interrogation, authorities moved quickly to arrest Jeremy Cuellar at his home. He was brought to the police station for questioning, but without hesitation, Jeremy requested an attorney.
Okay, so Jeremy, I'll ask you a few questions to make sure we're clear here. I went over all your legal rights with you. Do you understand those? And at this point in time, do you wish to have a lawyer?
The interview ended there, and Jeremy shut down any further communication with police. Fortunately for the detectives, he didn't make much of an attempt to cover his tracks. During a search of Jeremy's car and home, authorities discovered an abundance of evidence. In his black Chevrolet Impala, they found a 9mm bullet in the front seat, the same type of ammunition.
Look at that, boys, a big old...
They also discovered 3 bullets in the back pocket of the driver's seat, and a 9mm
big old venison fucking chop.
Divorce papers for Jeremy and his wife were also in the vehicle, as well as a Walmart receipt for a handheld GPS device he had purchased in the Chicago area. In Jeremy's home, detectives found a Sprint mobile bag with evidence of a newly activated iPhone, temporary firearm registration paperwork, a Glock 23 semi-automatic pistol, and more 9mm ammunition. Despite all the 9mm ammo, authorities were not able to find a corresponding weapon. Jeremy's cell phone GPS data
Trey, what's up, bro?
traveled to Michigan.
Yo, have you played the new Apex update? It's insane, bro. Newcastle is so broken, you can't even break his shield anymore.
Took place. On January 12th, 2019, Kamaya Hassel was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Jeremy Cuellar was charged with first-degree murder, premeditated murder, and conspiracy to
No, not yet, bro. Newcastle is so broken. His wall will regen your shields and shit now.
In state prison.
Dude, Newcastle's the best character in the game.
2 weeks of Tyrone Hassel Jr.'s life.
Probably not today, bro. I'll probably play tomorrow.
In St. Joseph
I was hurting today.
Laid his son to rest yesterday, but the information he's learned about how his son was killed still haunts him. He thinks his daughter-in-law is responsible. Sam Neff reports.
You know, it's kind of mixed feelings because we did get closure of land on the rest. I mean, but the closure we got was something totally unexpected.
Tyrone's family was devastated. Not only were they dealing with the loss of their son, but the idea of Kamaya being responsible for it was a hard pill to swallow. Her trial began on July 15th, 2019. Despite the overwhelming amount of evidence stacked against Jeremy, authorities did not have substantial physical evidence against Kamaya. The prosecution's plan was to present Kamaya as the mastermind behind the plot to murder her husband, driven by love and greed. Attorney Pierangeli explained that Kamaya and Jeremy hoped to gain life insurance money and continue their relationship after Tyrone was dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today because the defendant, Kamaya Hassel, wasn't happy with her life and with her husband. And she devised a plan with her lover to have him murdered. Now, she could have divorced Sergeant Hassel, but that simply wouldn't work because a divorce wouldn't give her everything that she wanted. You'll hear all about this plan and that money was a part of it. And you're going to hear all of this out of her own mouth, in her own words, because she admitted to all of it. You will find that Army Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III was the victim of a planned killing conceived months before and carried out on New Year's Eve of 2018. The woman responsible for that killing is seated right there, the defendant.
Kamaya's defense would go on to vehemently deny the allegations against her. They suggested that Kamaya was a victim of Tyrone's domestic abuse and that she was manipulated by Jeremy to go along with the plan.
Ladies and gentlemen, now I am a little surprised to hear Mr. Pierangeli talk about Ms. Hassel as the mastermind behind this, because I think there's no question that Jeremy Cuellar is directly, no question about it, responsible for Tyrone Hassel's death. Jeremy Cuellar is a full-blown psychopath. This is Mr. Cuellar's plan. This is his idea. I hope that we can avoid another tragedy in finding the wrong person responsible.
Following the opening statements, Tyrone's father kicked things off with his testimony, giving a chilling recollection of the night his son died.
The paramedics was already there. I saw them trying to put my son on the gurney, I believe it's called, and when they lift him up, I saw my son, back of his head, explode out, and his eyes were open. I looked at him to see where all he was shot at, and I saw a hole right here, right under the ear. And the back of his head was just big.
Detective Longuski was also brought to the stand. During his cross-examination, defense attorney Kessel suggested that he coerced Kamaya to falsely confess to the murder of her husband.
You said you got to get out in front of it because Jeremy is going to throw you under the bus. Do you remember saying that?
I believe I did, yes.
You actually said that Jeremy was in custody at one point and that he was talking. Do you remember?
Pretty sure I
saying
allowed to
that?
lie
Yes, I
though.
did.
You said Jeremy was a manipulator, correct?
I made that was a theme that I used, yes.
But it's fair to say that you're doing your own version of manipulating during this interview too. Is that right?
Well, I'm trying to make her feel comfortable and give her an option or a way to explain something that she may have been involved in, yes.
So yes is the answer to the question. You were also being a manipulator in this situation, correct?
I guess that's a fair statement, yes.
Longuski's partner, Sergeant Mike Lanier, also testified, saying that on January 2nd, 2019, just 2 days after the murder, there were multiple searches on how to delete Snapchat from Kamaya's phone.
Did you do a search
Shocking.
for Snapchat?
People just don't understand.
Yes.
Like, go get
Was there
yourself a
any
fucking
Snapchat
burner.
application on her phone? No.
Like, what?
Can you explain based on Equal 77 to the jury exactly what you found?
Well, up here in this little top part, you can search things. You can just type in whatever you want. I type in Snapchat or anything else in Snapchat. Things come up. It starts finding the word Snapchat, which included these titles here in the middle, which the very center one here says delete account, Snapchat. Then there's delete my account, Snapchat support, just a multitude of things with Snapchat.
Okay. And what is the very initial search?
The first one on that screen happens to be active duty soldier killed on New Year's Eve.
He was able to find proof of the conversations between Kamaya and Jeremy. However, since she had already successfully deleted her Snapchat account, it was impossible to see the actual messages between the two. On trial day 3, prosecutors dropped a bombshell on the defense that would shock the courtroom. On the day that Kamaya was taken into custody, she made a phone call to her mother from jail. Little did she know this conversation was being recorded.
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording.
Hey, Mommy.
What's going on, Kamaya?
I'm in the jail
Why are you in jail?
because I knew what was going on with Tyrone.
You what?
What was happening? We planned it.
Kamaya, are you serious? You gotta be kidding.
I'm serious, Mom. I just knew that you would be disappointed.
Girl, you 22 years old, and these people talking about something you was living a double life and you done had your husband killed, the father of your child. Kamaya, is somebody coercing you to say this stuff? Because this crap, it sounds like a TV show, a dream. I don't know if it's a calculated, conscious, heinous decision, an evil, demonic decision. You weren't raised like that.
A second confession. Needless to say, the
Damn,
prosecution
that mom
originally
laid into her.
thought
Good for
used
that
Kamaya's
mom.
recorded
Fuck
phone
mamas
calls to
don't
their
fuck around,
advantage
you know?
during their closing argument.
Surely she was not giving a false confession to her mother when she said, "We planned it." Other statements she gave to her mother when her mother asked, "Did he just come up here and do it? Did he just come up here and kill Ty, or did you tell him to do it?" And she responded, "We planned it." She never pulled that trigger. But didn't she really? She planned with Jeremy Cuellar to do it. That's evident over and over and over again. She is just as responsible as Jeremy Cuellar. She needs to be held accountable. She assisted in this crime. She gave aid. She gave counsel. She procured it. She abetted to encourage it. All the evidence shows that. And she conspired with him to do it. That Sergeant Hassel could be here today. If it wasn't for this defendant.
They asserted that Kamaya had the means, motive, and opportunity to commit this crime, and that their actions were premeditated and deliberate. On the other hand, the defense argued that despite Kamaya planning Tyrone's murder, she didn't think that Jeremy would actually follow through with it.
She told Detective Longuski she didn't think it would happen. Just like Specialist Hamilton said, I didn't think it would happen. Simply because Kamaya Hassel knew of the details does not prove that she was involved, that the statement that she made implicating herself was the result of a long stay in police custody, followed by repeated denials, followed by manipulation. Again, Detective Longuski's agreed upon word. Manipulation. It was only then that she began giving details, parroting him, as I read to you. Those are the only reasons that she made those statements, ladies and gentlemen. And without those statements, the prosecution has no case against Kamaya Hassel.
On July 18th, 2019, after a 4-day trial, the jury had come to a decision and the verdict was presented to the court.
Matt, I'm going to ask, sir, if you would please read in count 1 your verdict.
Guilty of first degree, premeditated murder,
Rinsed.
or better.
Thank you. And as to count 2.
Guilty of conspiracy to commit first degree premeditated murder.
All right, thank you.
Kamaya's sentencing
Rinsed.
took place about a month later, on August 29th, 2019.
New at 11 tonight, the wife of a Fort Stewart soldier has been sentenced to life in prison without parole for his murder. 22-year-old Camille Hassel learned her punishment today in Berrien County. Last month, a jury found her guilty of the January killing of Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III. He was shot to death while visiting family in Michigan.
The following month, on September 23rd, 2019, Jeremy Cuellar pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to a minimum of 65 years in prison. He will be eligible for parole at the ripe age of 90.
Jeremy Cuellar was emotional at his sentencing today as the victim's mother addressed the court. LaShonda Jones told the court that she plays videos just to listen to her son's voice and told Cuellar he does not deserve to walk the earth. Cuellar burst into tears.
I apologize to the family again. Sincerely. I was a fool for just taking her words and not really looking to see who he was. It was stupid.
It was stupid. Sums up pretty well.
You know, I was raised right. I just had issues with them, my own demons. I know we all do. But what she was telling me, I told her I opened up to her and she played on it. I shouldn't have, opened up to her. I was a fool for trusting her.
Following Jeremy's conviction, he requested a video call from prison with Tyrone's father. To many surprise, he accepted the invitation.
Oh, this is Mr. Hassel Jr.?
Yeah,
How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. Under the circumstances.
Honestly, I'm very sorry. I know that is not even enough, regardless of the fact I deprived Chunk of his father and his mother, regardless of how his mother, period. At the end of the day, I'm the reason, So it's like, I just couldn't take the shit, Plus, it's like, I just want to do my time and hopefully get out, But I don't even know if that's even possible, She always, it was just negative things about Ty and y'all, and that was another reason that kind of fueled me. But I didn't really want to do it. But I don't know, man. I was just blind. There's many things that she would tell me, bad things about him, and it wasn't even that bad. Now that I really look at it, like she was just ungrateful. You know what I mean? Like, and I wasn't seeing that. I was trying to be that. I don't know, man. Just goofy, man. Really, honestly, to be honest with you.
Goofy.
Thinking after all that, you thought that y'all can live happily ever after that.
I could tell by the way you look, man. You want me to burn in hell, sir. And I understand that. I really hope you can forgive me. I know it's gonna take forever, or you might not. But I really hope you can.
Only thing I can say, man, I'm gonna get out of here. Just, I guess for your sake, just stay in that Bible. It's the only thing gonna help you. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Despite this open and honest conversation, in August of 2020, Jeremy decided to withdraw his guilty plea, claiming that his defense team's advice to plead guilty was ineffective legal counsel. But in August of 2021, the Michigan Supreme Court denied Jeremy's request for an appeal. The following year, in October of 2022, Kamaya also claimed that her attorneys were ineffective by failing to challenge the admissibility of her police statements. She also added that her attorneys failed to present evidence of abuse during her marriage, nor did they consult an expert regarding a possible self-defense claim based on battered partner syndrome.
Aye.
However, this request for an appeal was also denied.
Mouthpiece,
Kamaya's
what's up, buddy?
were upheld. Kamaya Hassel is currently serving her life sentence at the Women's Huron Valley
Good.
Correctional Facility
Fuck that
in
bitch.
Ypsilanti, Michigan. As for Jeremy, he is serving his sentence at the Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility located in Ionia, Michigan.
They literally killed, probably one of the most noble people you could kill for no reason. Fuck those people. That's crazy. She could have literally just divorced his ass. The fuck? That's wild. They ain't just no Joe Schmo, you know? That guy's like fucking prize military member. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Okay.
I had pineapple juice this morning.
Delicious. You prepping for something?
Yep. Yep. Prepping for you, buddy.
I don't know if juice is what you need then.
What did I walk into?
Oh man. On the left, on the left.
What did I walk into? That was fucking funny. This movie is 2 hours long. Jesus Christ, they broke down every goddamn fucking scene of the movie. Yo, Sean, are you still in my chat, bro? Yes, sir. Alright, buckle up, buddy, because this one's gonna be a banger.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Paul, and in this video, we're breaking down the two towers.
Buckle up, Shawnee boy. Gonna be a banger. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm back. Didn't threaten me with a good time, mate.
I'm so happy to be doing the second entry in what I think's the greatest trilogy of all time. Building off the back of the brilliant works by Tolkien, The Two Towers is an absolute masterpiece. Throughout this video, we're going to be going through the movie and alongside it also breaking down the book. This will contain all the Easter eggs, hidden details, and extra bits of trivia that make the movie precious to me. I don't want to waste any more of your time though, so with that out of the way, let's get into the video while you swear on the precious to hit the thumbs up.
So it begins.
Now, when we went over the Fellowship of the Ring, you might remember we talked about Jackson's deal with Miramax. Originally, they were planning on just making 2 movies, with the initial scripts being written just for that. It was only when Jackson got out the deal and signed up with New Line that they realized they needed a 3-part epic. However, they still had a lot of the work done on the scripts, and thus Jackson didn't initially have one.
You love these? Yeah,
Towers.
these are good.
Instead, we were just going to get Fellowship, and then it would culminate in the War of the Ring. Now, because of that, The Two Towers is the most different to its book out of the 3 films. There's even vast chapters that when doing my notes for it, I just wrote Return of the King, just so when we get to that movie, I can then go back.
Yo,
and
Talks, what's up?
Okay. Certain elements in it are either made up entirely, or they've been shifted about to add certain scenes to this. If you've read the book, then you'll know it actually begins with Boromir's death, which Jackson placed at the end of Fellowship. The walk scene was also originally in Fellowship, which we talked about in our breakdown for that. This is something that happens after they fail to scale Caradhras, and it forces them.
Where is everybody? What do you mean? This is everybody.
Death, with this entire subplot being completely made up. This also comes along with Osgiliath, which is something the hobbits don't visit.
By rights, we shouldn't even be here.
Which is a line I love that Jackson threw in there. Throughout, we'd also see a vision where the ring corrupted Frodo and he transformed much like how Gollum did. I felt this scene was done better in Return of the King though, so it makes sense to just not repeat the motif. Removing this moment though makes this the only film in the trilogy where
There's only 2 people. Yeah, that's everybody, bro.
Way more character development, and we see her going back and forth with her father. Originally, she was in the Battle of Helm's Deep, with her deciding to mount up and join the elves. If you go and look at the footage, you can see her, or well, her presence at 2 key moments. As they're running up into the keep, you can notice her on the stairs just before they make their final stand. Now, I say her presence because Weta forgot to paint her out this moment. However, they did paint her out of the moment just before this, where you can catch them running up the bridge. If you zoom in and look closely at Aragorn's shadow, you'll see there's another one that isn't actually attached to a person. That is Arwen's, with them only removing Liv Tyler and not the shadow she left. When they were reworking the script, they decided to play the romance differently and instead have the pair interacting through flashbacks. So we get an added scene where she and Aragorn spend some time together at Rivendell the night before the Fellowship's departure. In the book, the story of Aragorn and so on also.
I'm chilling, Jay. I'm kind of fucked up and hungover, you know.
Palantir. Frodo and Sam's story ends with the Battle of Shelob,
Tired a little bit.
Frodo being taken by the orcs. That's all stuff that happens in Return of the King, and thus you can see how they kind of shifted stuff about. We will go more in depth on these other altered moments as we get into them, but most of the work was rearranged to fit this. It even got to the point they were considering just distancing themselves from the work as much as possible due to the events of September 11th. You have to remember, the movie released in 2002, meaning we had just over a year since the attack. They stuck with it in the end, though Jackson changed what the Two Towers were. In the book, they were Minas Meagle and Orthanc, whereas Jackson had them as Orthanc and then Barad-dûr. Whereas the movie's told with the stories happening alongside each other, the source material splits things into 2 books. The first of these is
Heating up some
Aragorn and the
tortillas.
gang, whereas the second half is just all about Frodo.
Yum.
Because of that, I've written stuff like this happens.
Oh, I
in
made some
chapter 18,
tortillas.
whereas in the book, it's like book 2, chapter 7. That just means it's the 18th chapter of the book though, and so I'm not having a nightmare jumping back and forth between chapters. Now this is a long way of saying there's a lot of stuff in the movie that isn't in the work, which we see immediately in the opening scene. Journeying back to the Misty Mountain, we pick up with Gandalf's apparent death. We're using shots from the Fellowship, and when the Eagle transported him from Isengard, we then pick up with his battle with the Balrog. However, as we follow the Fellowship last time, here we go down the dark, dusty cavern. The book tells us this battle lasted 10 days and worked from the pits up to the mountain tip. And when watching this for the first time in the theater, I was absolutely blown away by their opening up the movie like this. Shoutouts to IMDb Trivia for pointing out that this fall lasts for about 71 seconds. Terminal velocity is about 53 meters a second, meaning they fell for about 4,000 meters. Great little fact there, and I think next to The Spy Who Loved Me, this is my favorite way to start a movie ever, which also has a big moment involving falling. New Line originally wanted to open it up with a prologue which would recap the events from last time. However, Jackson just wanted to throw us right into the action and argued that people would remember what happened. Ironically, New Line were the ones.
But if you have 6 Zombies, it's not as bad as I thought. I've actually been having some fun playing it, but it's a game you have to play with people. You know what I mean? It's not a game you want to solo.
Right into the depths. Though the compositing of him under the CGI Balrog, it looks a bit off these days. Back then, this was taking things to the next step. Not only was it using camera techniques we hadn't really seen before, but you also had a real actor fighting a giant CGI character. This is further improved upon with Gollum later in the movie. Though CGI characters had been in films before, this felt like the next step in believability. Now, they initially just wanted a CGI character, which is what they used in the prologue of Part 1. Originally, Andy Serkis was just supposed to do the voice work, but Jackson was blown away by his audition. Thus, he decided to cast him in the movie.
Yeah, those fucking idiots.
Away for motion capture performances.
Yeah, we griefed some kids during Glitches and Zombies last night. We kept getting them killed. They were yelling at us and shit. You're fucking dumb. You're fucking dumb. You fucked up my boat. You fucked up my boat. What the hell, dude? You don't fuck up my boat. I reported them. I hope they get banned. I'd laugh.
This also mirrors his cries in Moria. Now, how Frodo is able to see this was touched upon more in the Fellowship book. There, we actually saw Gandalf's escape from Saruman through Frodo dreaming of it. At Lothlorien, we learn the rings are able to peer into the mind of other ring bearers, which is why Sauron invented the others. Gandalf was bound to the
Yeah, high rounds don't really interest me in the slightest.
Explains if 3 elven rings are hidden from the one, it's possible that Gandalf could still send a message. At Rivendell, when Frodo said how he saw him in a dream, Gandalf said, "Then it was late in coming." Gandalf was potentially trying to contact the other ring bearers, which at this point would have included Galadriel and Elrond. So you could see Frodo as intercepting this dream, but let me know below if you have a different theory. Now we begin with the 11th chapter in the book, which is called The Taming of Smeagol. When you're reading the work, it acts as a great tonal shift as we're going from the big war stuff in Rohan to a stealthier approach.
Dude, I gotta watch Lord of the Rings again.
And no mistake is how we begin, and it instantly
So
sets
good.
the mood. Now through the book, we learn it's been 7 nights since leaving the Fellowship, and that they've spent 3 lost in Emyn Muil alone. The second paragraph of Taming Smeagol explains how they could find no way forward, and sometimes discovered they'd wandered in a circle to the same point they were.
No, honestly though, the high rounds in Black Ops 6 suck. Black Ops 6 is like a very fun, casual, just like chill game, you know?
At this point, we get the line.
Still gonna watch John Wick? Yeah, eventually. Not today though.
That we don't want to see any closer, and that's the one place
I can't watch it on stream. Oh, dude. This movie is just so much better than John Wick, though. I can already tell you, without even watching it.
We don't want to see any closer.
Why would I want to watch John Wick when I could just watch 36 hours of Lord of the Rings? You know what I'm saying? Eh?
However, the work also lets us delve into Frodo's inner thoughts and all of his worries as he goes through the landscape. Getting lost here, Frodo says every choice he's made has seemed to be the wrong one. He wonders if the Dark Tower...
Yo, Bronny Jr. was in here earlier.
Say they haven't seen Gollum for 2 nights, but deep down they know he's still following. Sometimes in the silence of that barren country, they fancied that they heard faint sounds behind them, a stone falling, or the imagined step of flapping feet on the rock. But if they halted and stood still listening, they heard no more. Nothing but the wind sighing over the edges of the stones. Yet, even that reminded them of breath softly hissing through sharp teeth. Now in the extended edition, we get a scene with the rope which Sam had forgotten about until now. In the book, this actually helps in navigation as the silver gleam on it shines through the mist. Frodo at one point gets lost in the rocks, but the little light from it helps guide him back. This is after he falls, which is something we see happening in the scene. Grabbing a falling box, we learn my guy risked his life for some seasoning. Sam's kept it in case they have some roast chicken one night, and yeah, kinda shows his perception of what's going on. However, I also feel like
Yeah, Sam's like the best character though.
A little bit of home.
That's what this entire war's about, and they don't want to lose what makes them them. Now they then discuss the
And they
role,
eventually
but
do
without
lose what
someone
makes them
potentially
them.
following
That's the
them.
best
Sam
part.
at one point even measures it out and finds it's triple the length it looks. Elves are wonderful.
Today is my birthday. I'm 20 years old. Happy birthday, man. Yo, W's in the chat for the boy. I guess he's a man now.
We see how it magically unravels even when tied with knots to a rock. In both the work and films, Sam ties it with just a pull. This rope's then used on Gollum, and it could add weight to why it burns him. Elves are pure creatures, so something that's had its life prolonged through dark means might have a distaste for it. This comes across everything the elves do, with Gollum even finding the lembas disgusting. Sam ends up completely distrustful of him, and even from the rope we see the splinter growing in his mind. Sam worries that the rope's gonna act as a signpost, which is why he's desperate to pull it from the rock. However, it of course comes down, and it allows the pair to escape Emyn Muil. We then see Frodo getting a flash of the eye, which is when he says,
It's getting heavier.
this is touched upon in the book, with the work saying, in fact, with every step towards the gates of Mordor, Frodo felt the ring on its chain about his neck.
When you're until you can
burns.
drink legally,
He was
anyway.
now beginning to feel it as an actual weight dragging him earthward. But far more, he was troubled by the eye, so he called it to himself. It was that, more than the drag of the ring, that made him cower and stoop as he walked. We see Frodo drinking from a flask while they eat lembas bread. I love how this is sort of reflected later with Merry and Pippin, who are forced to swill that oily orc stuff. Now it's at this point they realise that Gollum's stalking them. In the rain they notice him, and in the book we get some pretext before they spring their trap. Like a nasty crawling spider on a wall, down the face of the precipice. Sheer and almost smooth it seemed in the pale moonlight. A small black shape was moving with its thin limbs splayed out. Maybe its soft clinging hands and toes were finding crevices and holes that no hobbit could ever have seen or used, but it looked as if it was just creeping down on sticky pads, like some large prowling thing of insect kind. And it was coming down head first, as if it was smelling its way. Now in the work, the character was smelling because the elven cloaks hid the pair and made them practically invisible. This is something we see in full effect with the Easterlings when one investigates what the falling rocks are.
Yeah,
This
it's
in the book
sick.
is where we get the thieves line, which Circus delivers brilliantly in the film.
They're thieves. They're filthy little thieves.
Gollum also says, which is something he says 15 times in the film, and any Gollum impression comes equipped with it. I'll try not to do mine though. Climbing down the rocks, this is perfectly captured in the movie as we get our first proper look at Gollum. In this we get our first clue that he's a hobbit, as we can see he's got the same kind of oversized feet.
Oh, Botchko!
Now Gollum went through several redesigns, with him initially having a skeletal rotted away nose. However, they realised they needed to have him also be sympathetic, and looking like a zombie didn't really help. They do something really subtle with the character though, depending on what persona he's in. The more friendly version has much larger pupils, which makes it seem like he's almost got Disney eyes. The Wicked version's pupils are a lot smaller, which indicates what mood Gollum's in. His body language
Have I played
also
it?
adds
I'm
massive
officially adult, no more teen.
similar to a child, whereas
Yes,
the
sir.
evil is more hunched up, with Circus
It's all downhill
figuring
from
out
here.
what stances predators do before attacking their prey. Circus play the character like an addict, with him going through withdrawals and saying whatever he thinks will help him get a hit. You can see this in several moments, especially when he spots the ring. In case you missed our breakdown last time, we pointed out how Gollum puffs his cheeks out, which is also something Boromir did just before attacking Frodo. Basing his voice on a cat coughing up a furball, we get that iconic According to IMDb Trivia, Circus is actually a very experienced rock climber, so this came in handy with a lot of his actions being on all fours. When modelling the character's arms, they actually looked at longtime Tolkien artist John Howe, who helped to inspire the character's wiry frame. Now when it comes to capturing the performance, the actor filmed 2 takes of every scene. The first of these would have Circus acting in the motion capture suit. The second would have Elijah and Sam acting against nothing. The plan was then to have Circus reenact the scene on a green screen set in a studio, which Weta could then incorporate. However, the team at Weta found that pretty much every take was better when the actors did the scene with Circus. Thus, Weta had a lot of work having to remove Circus from every shot and replace him with Gollum. The tech at the time, it also held them back a bit. It apparently took 4 hours to render just 1 frame, which they'd have set away overnight. However, this didn't always work out. According to the wiki, they'd sometimes arrive to find glitches such as Gollum's hair standing up on end just like a punk rocker. This process was so arduous that Weta actually started working on one of the final shots first. This was the long take in which Gollum crawls along talking to himself about luring the hobbits to Shelob. Lasting 2 minutes, it required months and months of work, which included circus filming the entire thing again on a green screen. Took ages to render, and yeah, you can see why they had to do this thing first. Now, the fighting conversation that follows brings the book to life perfectly. Sam was out of his hiding in a flash and crossed the space between him and the cliff foot in a couple of leaps. Before Gollum could get up, he was on top of him, but he found Gollum more than he bargained for. Then, sharp teeth bit into his shoulder. All he could do was butt his hard round head sideways into the creature's face. Gollum hissed and spat, but he did not let go. Now, it's at this point that Frodo springs up and draws Sting from its sheath. The basis for this shot actually came from an Alan Lee painting, and it's one of the more famous illustrated Lord of the Rings images. With his left hand, he drew back Gollum's head by his thin lank hair, stretching his long neck and forcing his pale venomous eyes to stare up at the sky. "Let go, Gollum," he said. "This is Sting. You've seen it before, once upon a time. Let go, or you'll feel it this time. I'll cut your throat." Which plays into this line in the movie.
This is Sting. You've seen it before. Release him, or I'll cut your throat.
It's one of the most book-accurate parts of the movie, and in both the book and film, we see as the characters move switches just like the attic circus portrayed him as. He stood over Gollum while Sam tied the knot. The result surprised them both. Gollum began to scream, a thin, tearing sound very horrible to hear. He writhed and tried to get his mouth to his ankle and bite the rope. He kept on screaming. I love the transition there, and you really get the feeling he's been doing that all day. Paying close attention to his pupils there, you can also notice they widen as the more sympathetic side takes over.
He's so ugly! I love him!
Now over time, we get the idea that Frodo pities him and thinks back to his talk with Gandalf. That is, of course, how some who deserve life get death, and some who deserve death get life, but Gandalf's words came with a warning. He told Frodo to not be so quick to be a person that deals death out, and thus he ends...
What? The word, what, say you, was only said 3 times across 6 movies and a TV show in Lord of the Rings, and Hobbit and Lord of the Rings of Power. What say you?
The character.
Maybe he
Really?
does deserve to die. But now that I see him, I do pity him.
Now, in freeing him, they agree that one good turn deserves another, and he agrees to lead them out. However, the work expands on their time with the character and how that first night they pretend to be asleep. As soon as they close their eyes, Gollum makes a run for it, and in the end, they make him swear on the precious, which is a section that comes directly from the book. However, in order to swear, they say the oath.
Say the line, Bart!
One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Yeah! For a moment, it appeared to Sam that his master had grown and that Gollum had shrunk. A tall, stern shadow, a mighty lord who hid his brightness in grey cloud, and at his feet, a little whining dog. Yet the two were in some way...
Speaking of whining dogs, my dog's downstairs barking right now.
Mind. It's in this moment that he talks about his secret path, which involves going through the marshes. Described as leading them like a dog, we close out this first section with them looking out over the leagues before them and witnessing a dark and black silence. It's a chilling way to end the first chapter with them, and in the movie we then see the other 2 hobbits are a little worse for wear. Taking us to the second chapter of the work, that is The Riders of Rohan. This vast and expansive part of the movie centers around the rescue of Merry and Pippin. However, it escalates into something else and ends up becoming one of the biggest battles put to film. Until Return of the King, we begin with the company of Uruk-hai, some of which were voiced by Andy Serkis. It's the first time we get to see things from their point of view, and we also get the infighting that happens in the group. Now, the work explains where this all stems from and really goes into detail over why this happens. The orcs and Uruk-hai are loyal to different masters, with the allegiances split between Sauron and Saruman. That's something we don't really get hammered home, but they fight over what direction to take the ring. One detail I love finding in my research is something they do with the Uruk-hai. You might notice that some of them have grey hair, and there's also heavy blotches on their skin. This was supposed to show they were rotting and falling apart.
Ew.
They were of course made by Saruman, and it's great how they added these little touches in. Casting them though was a bit of a nightmare, as they're all supposed to be 7 foot tall. After running out of 6 foot extras, they went down to 5 foot 5 guys and just had them hanging around the back, and they nicknamed them the Uruk-lo. Now, they take most of the scene from the following chapter titled The Uruk-hai. This opens by saying Pippin lay in a dark and troubled dream in which he's calling out for Frodo. He's then swarmed by hundreds of orcs, which wakens him quickly from the nightmare. It's a great way to open up the chapter, and of course reflects the dream that Frodo had of Gandalf. The orcs then arrive at 1515 and they join the company of Uruk-hai. However, there's already fractures, with them both being loyal to different masters. Now in this chapter we follow Merry and Pippin, with the former being a little worse for wear. Ugluk thrust a flask between his teeth and poured some burning liquid down his throat. He felt a hot, fierce glow through him. The pain in his legs and ankles vanished. He could stand. No one said it was decided that the orcs shouldn't have pink mouths due to their blood being black, so they used licorice-based mouthwash here to make the insides of their mouths look darker. We then get the line in the work about how he can't take his medicine, which is something they bring across to the film.
God, take his blood!
What I love about Dominic Monaghan's performance here though is that you can really see him trying to stay strong. The book describes him as looking pale but grim and defined, and they imagine Strider racing behind them.
Don't worry about me.
And that takes us to the second chapter, which follows Aragorn and the gang. The chapter itself starts off saying how dusk deepened and we catch Aragorn and co running, attempting to pick up the scent. In hindsight, going back to this chapter, I love they actually talk about the mist along Eamon Mule. That's what Frodo is currently caught in, and it's a great way to recontextualize their struggle. The work really goes into the thought process behind what goes into tracking them and how he surveys the land. Noticing a river, he realizes the orcs will avoid it due to them being scared of water. This means they're taking them to Isengard rather than taking them towards the clutches of Mordor.
They're taking the hobbits to...
Right, yeah, we get it, mate. We also have a section discussing how he cast himself upon the ground and listened.
One of the OG memes right there.
Introduced to him. It's in this tracking that they also come across 5 dead orcs, which begins a mystery in the chapter. Aragorn says it won't be the Rohirrim, as they don't typically journey into this area. In the work we learn that he used to live among them and is aware of their ways. As we discover though, he is indeed wrong, and the creatures were killed by the riders of Rohan. Now this is the first clue that something's off in Rohan and that the riders aren't happy with their leader. As they run, the work also tells us some additional things. Legolas spots a giant eagle far away and wonders if it's the one he's seen in the past. The text tells us that this was rescuing Gandalf. I'm guessing Jackson didn't include it because he didn't want another film where the eagles fly in and sort everything out. If he had, that would have been like all 3 in the original trilogy, and then I think they popped up in 2 in The Hobbit. Either way, it just adds a little more context and explains how Gandalf got down from the mountain. Now this is where Aragorn asks Legolas to use his elf eyes. The book tells us of a great company, but the movie birthed one of the best memes ever.
Wait, can you help me?
This even got to the point where Bloom reacted to it while making The Hobbit.
To Isengard! To Isengard! To Isengard!
Now, you might wonder how they're able to catch up to the group so quickly. The work explains in the Departure of Boromir chapter that they packed as light as they could. Their shoes are also made from elven material, which means
That's crazy, Sean. You know everything, eh?
Something we see in full effect at Helm's Deep when the army of elves arrive. You might notice that we don't hear the footsteps of them marching, and this is because they don't make a sound. Too bloody light, if you ask me, because if you pay close attention to Gimli at the 1744 mark, you'll see his shoe comes off as he's running. Didn't stop though, and everyone keeps on powering through. It's at this point in the book we then get the line, "The breach of an elven cloak," cried Legolas and Gimli together. "Not idly do the leaves of Lorien
Come here,
fall,"
buddy.
said Aragorn.
Come on
This
up.
did not drop by
Come on.
chance. It was cast away as a token to any that might follow. I think Pippin ran away from the trail for that purpose.
Come on up.
This was,
No,
of course,
fine.
left behind him at the start of the scene, and I love how Jackson perfectly recaptures the work. There's so much atmosphere in it, including the language that Tolkien uses to chronicle a journey. The sun climbed to the noon and then rode slowly down the sky. Light clouds came up out of the sea in the distant south and were blown away upon the breeze. The sun sank. Shadows rose behind and reached out long arms from the east. Still, the hunters held on. We follow them day by day and the ins and outs of most of the trek. Eating lembas bread, this fills their stomach and gives them the energy to power through.
One small bite is enough to fill the stomach of a grown man.
They do hit a snag in the end of the road though when they realize these orcs travel through the day. Due to the genetic engineering by Saruman, the company are more resistant to light. Legolas correctly guesses they'll travel in the night as well, but this will make the trail more difficult to follow. Thus in the book, when they wake up they worry they've lost them, whereas in the movie they have the red sky. Nothing can be heard though. The rumour of the earth is dim and confused, he said. Nothing walks upon it for many miles about us. Faint and far are the feet of our enemies. Loud are the hoofs of the horses. With no clear trail, this worries a ranger like Aragorn, yet still they push on. Now in the movie, it's at this point we cut to Saruman using the Palantir. Inside it is something similar to an eye to reflect Sauron's eye on top of the tower. These two towers were present in the poster as well, and I think they act as great ways to divide the two sides of the Fellowship. We have Frodo and Sam working towards taking down Sauron, while Aragorn gets Saruman. We also get him saying, "The world is changing," which reflects Galadriel saying this at the start of Fellowship.
The world is changed.
Now this video is sponsored by Isengard. Yes, the Isengard State Media, they want you guys to know that Saruman's not all bad. If he gets the ring, we'll all get to live in the industrial land of Isengard. Just use my link in the description and use the code HAILSARUMAN to get 50% off your Saruman Isengard membership today. And from here we get a reuse of some of the shots of the trees being torn down from Fellowship, which is brought in to highlight what Saruman's going to do next. Saruman wants to build a dam, and in the end this leads to his downfall. Having stripped the trees close to home, he's now turned his eyes to the forest of Fangorn. Fangorn Forest lies at the foot of the Misty Mountain and it spans past Isengard, Rohan and Lothlorien. The forest actually used to be much larger, but a vast part of it was destroyed during the Second Age. Both the Númenóreans and Sauron cut through it, but it still remains a vast piece of woodland. In these moments at the 20 minutes 30 mark, we also see blacksmiths creating swords. These were actually the real life blacksmiths from the production team who made
that's sick.
for the movie.
Dude, Sean, did you know that? That's crazy. What the fuck? I never knew that. That's crazy.
Of Dunland. These were forced off their land by Rohan, and they've somewhat been forced to become barbaric savages. It's kind of like how the Germanic forces were depicted in Gladiator, with the men being loosely based upon them. The work actually tells us they were part of the Battle of Helm's Deep, and that they aligned with the orcs due to Saruman's promises. Thematically, I feel this sort of aligns with Sauron the Deceiver. He too made promises, and I'm no doubt that these men would have been betrayed at the end. As of this video though, we also know they're going to feature heavily in the upcoming War of the Rohirrim film. Haven't seen that as of putting this together, but that will probably discuss more of their backstory. Also, disclaimer, I still haven't watched Rings of Power Season 2. I know, I don't want it messing with my canon and making me misremember stuff, because I've got like 3 massive novels stuffed in my head and I don't want to mess that up. Now the damage and devastation these men leave is something we witness as they ravage the landscape. Burning villages and forcing people from their homes, these end up fleeing. Amongst these we see some kids who are split from their mother and they later reunite at Helm's Deep. There's actually also a really subtle shot in the movie where we can see villages burning in the background, which I love Jackson added in. This is the Westfold, which is now burning because of the men.
Yeah,
during this how we could have crossed to Éomer. My favourite bit of trivia about Karl Urban is that he and Viggo went and bought some Gundam figures when they visited Japan. We also have him discovering Theodred, aka Theoden's son. Though he's alive, he hasn't got long left for the world, and his death really tears up Theoden. Later we get a line that's always stuck with me about how parents shouldn't bury their children. Bernard Hill actually put this in the film himself after he remembered speaking to a woman whose son had died. In her grief she said this to him, and he got Jackson to include it for the character. It's really poignant, and Éomer has his sister Éowyn, who are now the only people looking out for the king's best interests. Now I had to double take the book when I was first reading it because Theoden calls her sister daughter. Getting a bit Game of Thronesy there, mate. You've even got a guy like Larys next to you. Oh, that sister daughter is because Éowyn's his niece and he took her in after the death of her parents. This is why they have such a familial bond, but they don't delve too deeply into it. What it does though is allow for one of the film's themes to be set up. In this movie we meet Boromir's brother Faramir, with Theodred being a stand-in of the former. Denethor clearly saw Boromir as the favourite and wanted to leave him the keys to the kingdom. or regency. Theoden had this as well as his son, but he ended up dying. So you can feel the regret from losing his son, which also kind of explains why Denethor's a dick. Even though he's a dick, yeah, and Faramir's great, mate. You don't need to be a dick like that. Either way, when we first meet Theoden, he's in his aged and decrepit look. This took 9 hours to apply, with it being extremely
Fuck
convincing.
that shit,
Later
man.
on, we see the character de-age in real time, which was done through mostly practical means. Hill was given the full look for take 1, where he'd film the scene, and then they'd yell cut. They'd then do another take where he had slightly less makeup, and they'd then repeat the action. Doing this 4 times at different stages allowed them to get footage where they could morph the 4 takes together. Now, Bernard Hill was originally wanted for Gandalf, but I feel he's perfect as the king. Throughout this and the next movie, he gets one of the best arcs, and he played the character brilliantly. Sadly, he died in May earlier this year, with the actor being booked in to appear at Liverpool Comic Con. This would be alongside Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, Billy Boyd, and Dominic Monaghan, who instead held the panel as an honour to his memory. Now, alongside him is Brad Dourif, who plays Grima Wormtongue. Always kills me that name, but this actually has deeper ties to Christian mythology. The word worm derives from the word worm with a Y, which means snake. The snake was present in the Garden of Eden, and it tempted Eve by offering her knowledge. This eventually led to man and woman losing out and being exiled from the Garden of Eden. Wormtongue uses his words to whisper in Theoden's ear to stop him from stepping up to stop evil. He also names Gandalf Lathspell, which translates to the bringer of ill news.
Lathspell, I name him. Ill news is an ill guess.
Shoutouts to IMDb Trivia for noting this is the opposite of Jesus, who brought the gospel. The gospel translates to mean good news, so we have this being tied to his nickname. Gandalf was resurrected just like Jesus, and he's returned to lead man out of the darkness. So lots of things going on there, and Tolkien was of course a Christian. Now, Eomer knows that something's off because he discovered a white hand on the orcs. This is the marking of Saruman, and thus he wants to warn the king. This falls on deaf ears though, and Eomer's banned from the kingdom. I love how Grima holds up the document, which is being signed by the king. The signature scrawls off almost like he didn't have control when he was writing it. Just subtly hints how out of it he is, and how he doesn't have the cognizance to make decisions like this. Now, Dourif completely nails it as Wormtongue, and I feel like whether it's intentional or not, this looks very similar to Gollum. He has the same pale skin and those big blue eyes, and it just reminds me a lot of the character.
I always thought it
Didn't
was
know
him
if
when
that
I was a kid.
intentional, as both have been tempted by darkness. Dourif got so into the role that he even shaved his eyebrows, which over time sounds like a bit of a nightmare. Guy ended up shooting his parts spaced out over 3 years, so he had to cut them down 5 times. Nightmare. IMDb Trivia though states he stayed in character and spoke with a British accent in between takes. This was so convincing that Bernard Hill thought the American accent he started speaking with was fake. Guy absolutely kills it, and is low-key one of the most memorable villains in the movie. We even see him lusting over Eowyn, and yeah, just a creepy dude. But he's in power at the moment, so he's the one who controls Rohan. Now, back with Merry and Pippin, we actually hear the Ents off in the distance.
What's making that noise? It's the trees.
This happens as the orcs cut down the tree, and it's what leads into Merry getting the idea to show the Ents Isengard. We also get this line, which is one of my favourite memes as well.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. The hobbits are actually offered meat in the book, but they turn it down because they don't know what it is. I like how Jackson kind of answers that here, and it sort of paints them out as being cannibalistic. Now, the work tells us the Uruk-hai have orders, and that the halflings carry something that's wanted for the war.
An elvish weapon. The master wants it for the war.
It says in the book, alive and as captured, and no spoiling.
Alive and unspoiled.
Shouldn't have come to the heavy spoilers show then, eh? These are all moments that come from the book directly, and it shows how much Jackson respected the source material. We also learn the commander's called Ugluk, and no prizes for guessing that that's based on the word ugly. The smaller orc is called Grishnag, and the pair have a little fight. It's during this in the book that a blade is cast to the side that Pippin then uses to cut his rope. However, in the work, he doesn't escape at this point. He just loops his hands around his back and pretends to be a captive. In doing this, it allows him to drop the leaf, which of course he does in the movie. In the book, he realizes the orc tracks will be confusing and imagines Strider struggling to follow them. So he quickly dashes off the path to lay some footprints elsewhere that won't get trampled. Now, it's in this moment that the orcs notice a horseman who rides off to raise the alarm. However, due to the book expanding on our time with them, we actually learn what the next part of the journey is. A winged Nazgul awaits us northward on the east bank. Maybe, and you'll fly off with our prisoners and get all the pay and praise and lugbuts and leave us to foot it as best we can. can through the horse country. Doesn't say lug butts, just the teleprompter hasn't read it, but I'm reading from the book, I promise, guys. No. We must stick together. These lands are dangerous, full of foul rebels and brigands. Now this somewhat foreshadows the arrival at the marshes, and the Nazgul feature a lot more in the book. Described as being like a secret weapon, the orcs say, you ought to know that they're the apple of the great eye. But the winged Nazgul, not yet, not yet. You won't let them show themselves across the great river yet. Not too soon. They're for the war and other purposes. Constantly throughout Frodo's journey, they talk about how they often spot shadows overhead. This happens as early as Em and Mule, with them noticing something black in the mist. Now in the movie, they cut that all down and just have the riders attack. However, they play things a lot differently in the work, and they don't just go straight for the ambush. The horses sometimes gallop past the group and do drive-bys on the orcs. Now in the night, Pippin realizes they're after the ring when Grishnak grabs him. Guy even does a Gollum impression. For a moment, Pippin was silent. Then suddenly in the darkness, he made a noise in his throat. Gollum. Gollum. You forced me to do that impression. Nothing, my precious, he added.
Just listening to this video.
Grishnak then says that he doesn't want the ring and how their torturer will get it out of them. It's at this point that Pippin says it'll be Saruman who gets it, which is a name that enrages the orc. It all kicks off from this point, which is when the riders attack. Grishnak flung himself on the ground flat, dragging the hobbits under him, and he drew his sword. No doubt he meant to kill his captives, rather than allow them to escape or be rescued. But it was his undoing. The sword rang faintly and glinted a little in the light of the fire away to his left. An arrow came whistling out of the gloom, and it pierced his right hand. He dropped the sword and shrieked. There was a quick beat of hoofs, and even as Grishnak leaped up and ran, he was ridden down and a spear passed through him. He gave a hideous, shivering cry and lay still. Now they drag this out a lot longer in the movie, with the orc following the hobbits into the forest. I do like it there though, as they use it as a way to introduce Treebeard, and it skillfully sets up how powerful the Ents are, which I prefer. Now again, the elven cloaks aid them in the book. It's said that the riders simply don't spot them because their garments are a camouflage. This also explains why in the movie, Eomer doesn't really notice them. The pair escape though, which we discover through Aragorn's tracking, and they make it to the forest. In the work, they also talk about how they might end up as a chapter in Bilbo's book. This chapter then closes out describing the riders' victory, and it paints them out as being a formidable army. And over the wide fields, the keen-eyed riders hunted down the few orcs that had escaped and still had strength to fly. Then, when they had laid their fallen comrades in a mound and had sung their praises, the riders made a great fire and scattered the ashes of their enemies. So ended the raid, and no news of it ever came back either to Mordor or Isengard, but the smoke of the burning rose high to heaven and was seen by many watchful eyes. Anyway, the next day we see the red sky and rejoin Aragorn and the gang. Just like the book, the group hide and the riders don't notice them.
I'll take that too.
What news from the mob?
Jackson modeled the movement of the group on a flock of birds, and we see how their horses move like a swarm. Their horses were of great stature, strong and clean-limbed. Their grey coats glistened, their long tails flowed in the wind, their manes were braided on their proud necks. The men that rode them matched them well, tall and long-limbed. Their hair, flaxen pale, flowered under their light helms, and streamed in long braids.
Man, the
behind
attention
them.
to detail is
In their
insane.
hands were tall spears of ash. Painted shields were slung at their backs. Long swords were at their belts. Their burnished shirts of mail hung down upon their knees. Now these are based on Scandinavian riders, and Tolkien also pointed out they have horsehair helmets. However, getting men to fill these roles was a little difficult, so instead they put facial hair on women and had them being riders too. Now Eomer is described as being very inquisitive, and the group even discuss Boromir. Eomer warns them of the White Wizard, and he says he's an old man that walks with a hooded cloak.
He walks here and there, they say.
Really?
There's an old man.
Want to go shoot some cool dogs tonight?
This kind of lays the groundwork for the appearance of Gandalf, though there's way more paranoia in the book. Aragorn and the gang actually end up setting up a campfire, which is when they're approached by a strange figure from the dark. Well, father, what can we do for you? Said Aragorn, leaping to his feet. Come and be warm if you're cold. He strode forward, but the old man was gone. There was no trace of him to be found near at hand, and they did not dare wander far. The moon had set, and the night was very dark. Now the group then look around for their horses and realize they've all disappeared. It's really chilling when you're reading it, and we still don't ever get it cleared up exactly who it was. It was an evil phantom of Saruman that we saw last night. I am sure of it. However, Legolas said that the horses didn't sound worried, and it was more like when they meet an old friend. Gandalf does mention later on it wasn't him, which I know a lot of people miss in the book. There have been people who've said he's just confused, because let's be honest, he's been through a whole age of time and space in theory time. We had a big theory time of everything. However, I think it just helps to lay the groundwork for why why that meeting later on is so tense, as we've seen they've already had a run-in with Saruman. The book then gives us the line that we get in the movie.
Give me your name, Horsemaster, and I shall give you mine.
It's very much an interrogation in which Aemma tries to see if they're loyal to Saruman. However, in the work, Aragorn pulls out his sword and explains exactly who he is. He seemed to have grown in stature, while Aemma had shrunk, and in his living face they caught a brief vision of the power and majesty of the Kings of Stone. For a moment, it seemed to the eyes of Legolas that a white flame flickered upon the brows of Aragorn like a shining crown. Now this perfectly reflects the passage with Frodo before, and it shows how these two characters have grown with their burden. Describing the halflings as children to their eyes, this is a line we get in the film.
Only children to your eyes.
Now it's in this,
From
they actually
Apex
set the groundwork
Legends,
for
not
the
today,
kingdom's
dude.
dislike of Gandalf. They talk about at one point how his name was
Says
a
it's a
password
chilling
that actually
day.
helped to gain the king's favour. However, he ended up taking Shadowfax and says that since his return, he's let no man touch him. In the end though, both in the movie and book, they do end on good terms. Aemma in the book actually tries to recruit them as he knows they'd be solid warriors. In the movies, he gives them the horses of the slain to make up for them potentially killing the hobbits. These slain members can be spotted at the edge of the forest when Aragorn and co are looking at the bodies. In the background, you can catch helmets marking their graves, showing that the riders buried their friends. One little goof you can also catch happens when Aemma mounts his horse and you'll see his sword fall out its sheath. Happens very quick, but yeah, if you look closely, you'll see it drop out. Embarrassing, mate. You bloody should be embarrassed of yourself. And the gang then ride out to the burnt bodies, and we get a bit of trivia that no one's ever touched on before. Ever. This happens when Aragorn kicks the helmet. Did you know, yeah? Did you know, right? When Viggo Mortensen kicked his helmet, yeah? He actually broke his toes, yeah? Did you know that? So when he was screaming like that,
No
was
way.
the actor actually screaming in pain over doing it?
Who would've
Jackson
thought?
kept it in the movie, and make sure you hit the thumbs up, yeah? If you've learned that brand new, never before said trivia. Now, but I did go into behind the scenes stuff, and Jackson said he was impressed
No
Mortensen
way.
kept acting through the movie. Mortensen didn't bring it up until much later as well. He said the stunt crew were injured much worse than he was, and so he just pushed through. Guy didn't want to seem like a fanny. In the work though, they end up lighting a fire near the forest and hope that it draws the hobbits out in the night. The trees don't like it though, and seeing that fire, they then start reacting and moaning. Legolas then says, I have heard nothing of this in my own land, save only songs that tell how the Ondirim that men call Ents dwelt there long ago, but Fangorn is old even as the elves would reckon it. And that takes us into Merry and Pippin meeting Treebeard. Chapter 4 is titled Treebeard, and we really see the forest through their eyes. Described as being unlike Mirkwood, it's dim and said to be frightfully tree-ish. The pair say they can't imagine animals living there, and that there's nothing to eat for hundreds of miles. They found that they were looking at a most extraordinary face. It belonged to a large, man-like, almost troll-like figure, at least 14 foot high, very sturdy, with a tall head and hardly any neck. Whether it was clad in stuff like green and grey bark, or whether that was its hide, was difficult to say. At any rate, the arms,
dance
at a short
parties.
distance from the trunk, were not wrinkled, but covered with brown smooth skin. The large feet had 7 toes each. The lower part of the face was covered with a sweeping grey beard, bushy, almost twiggy at the roots, thin and mossy at the ends. But at the moment, the hobbits noted little but the eyes. Voiced by John Rhys Davies, he brings a lot to the role. Davies has that booming voice, and I think it's brilliant they used him for this in Gimli. Recording his vocals through a wooden microphone, it's something Jackson was inspired for by the book. Described as having a deep voice like a woodwind instrument, you can definitely feel this when the character talks. It's believed Tolkien actually based this on his friend C.S. Lewis, who was of course the author of the Narnia books. And the movie alters things a lot, as in the work the meeting's pretty straightforward. Treebeard calls the Ents, they have their council, and then decide to go to war. That's it. Boom. Straight to the point. I could learn something about that myself. Treebeard in the book lives a really sheltered life, and even asks what's happening in
Redeem
the world.
token
He
again?
says
Yeah,
that
I
he's
did
never
take
heard of
this
hobbits,
one.
and that he'd know because the elves made all the words.
Yo, Rep, did you see my picture in your Discord? You see my picture in your Discord, buddy? I literally did 1 KC. I was just like, oh shit. Wouldn't you look at that? Wouldn't you fucking look at that? A bunch of planks to do construction. And I bought a Bandos God sword. And I sold my Dragon Hunter crossbow, and I bought a Dragon Hunter lance. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just throw those in. Let's see here. Okay, oh, I also bought Burning Claws too. Look at that, I forgot. Bandos God Sword, Burning Claws, and the Dragon Hunter Lance, and the Dragon Warhammer. Oh my goodness. Moving up in the world, bro. Yeah, let me know if you want to do some Huey Codal, bud. Let me know if you want to do some Huey, bro. Nice getting some better gear. Yeah, next up is the Bandos chestplate. You'd be down for a few? I mean, shit, I'm kind of just low-key chilling, doing fuck all, so. Kind of hurting from the other night. But yeah, if you're down. You do a Duke trip? Yeah, you let me know when you're good, you know? You let me know when you're good. I'm just kind of low-key farming these, whatever the fuck they're expert mining gloves or whatever they're called. You know? Roger.
Yeah, the guy's basically still using MySpace. There's even a passage in which he talks about how the elves helped the Ents to evolve, and it would make sense he thought they created all the words. Still, I take more kindly to elves than to others. It was the elves that cured us of dumbness long ago, and that was a gift that cannot be forgotten, though our ways have parted since. Now, the Ents in general are very confined to their lives and have never branched out beyond that. Pun intended there. This is touched upon in the text and how they've sort of changed to their surroundings. Sheep get like shepherds and shepherds like sheep. As we talked about, you know, Two Towers had to be compiled from a lot of stuff, and Jackson actually looked at some of the characters he'd omitted. There are parts of Treebeard's dialogue that come from Tom Bombadil, with Jackson reworking some of the lines.
Oh, Tom Bombadil, Tom Bombadil.
How did I know they were gonna put that shit in there?
By the reed and willow, by fire, sun, and moon.
Oh, shut up, man, Tom, will you? Just shut the fuck up. Treebeard also drops them before the White Wizard, and we cut before we learn who this is. It's called Tension. Anyway, in the work, he takes them to an Ent house, and the court assembles around a giant stone table. Merrion and Pippin do a previously on, and basically recap the story so far. Lying on pillows of grass, the forest is then set to glow as the Ents begin to talk. We also get Treebeard going to sleep at one point, which involves him standing outside. Guy goes stiff and upright like a tree, and
what the
just
fuck?
stands there in the rain. Now, when they're talking, Treebeard asks if there's any Entwives near the Shire. He goes into how they lost them and thus haven't made any more Entlings. Those are basically Ent children, and he explains the differences between the two, with the Ents loving the great trees and the mountain peaks. The Entwives gave their minds to lesser trees and the meads beyond the forest. Thus they left and haven't been seen since. It's in this that we learn of the other Ents, including one called Finglass. There's also one named Bregalad who becomes a friend to Merry and Pippin, and he ends up taking care of them. Now in the movie, initially the Ents are against the war, and they say they're not on anybody's side. This is something they bring from the book, with Tolkien taking nods from the war. He'd seen how those apathetical to the Nazis had let the evil expand unchecked. A lot of countries ended up getting involved, but there were still some that remained out the conflict. Switzerland, for example, refused to get involved in the war, and I feel like this inspired some of the dialogue with the Riders of Rohan. In the book, when questioning Aragorn, they say, "We do not serve the power of the Black Land far away, but neither are we yet at open war with him, and if you're fleeing from him, then you'd best leave this land. There is trouble now on all borders, and we are threatened, but we desire only to be free, and to live as we have lived. keeping our own and serving no foreign lord, good or evil. Jackson somewhat changes his dynamic and has them well aware that Saruman's infected Rohan. On the flip side of this, like I mentioned earlier, the Ents decide to go to war off their own back. For the movie, Merry has to manipulate them and make them see firsthand they have to get involved. I feel like that might make them potentially a play off America and how they remain relatively neutral early on at least. It was only after the attack on Pearl Harbor they decided to go all in, and that's kind of what the Ents are doing. The Ents are overpowered when compared to everyone else, and it could reflect the superpower of the American army. The forest being ripped down is what sends them over, whereas here they rightly know the evil must be stamped out. For these Isengarders are more like wicked men. It is a mark of evil things that came in the great darkness that they cannot abide the sun, but Saruman's orcs can endure it, even if they hate it. I wonder what he has done. Are they men he has ruined, or has he blended the races of orcs and men? That would be a black evil. The Ents are obviously one with nature, so they hate the idea of corruption, and have seen mirrors of themselves, much like how the Uruk-hai are mirrors of men. Trolls are said to be mockeries of the Ents, much like how the orcs are mockeries to the elves. The Ents are very much a representation of trees and nature, whereas the trolls are sort of a representation of rocks and being stupid. Tolkien was of course a conservationist though, with the trilogy having an anti-industrial message. We get long passages here where he describes nature and all the Ents arriving. In the end, the council goes on for 3 days, whereas in the movie they kind of wrap it up quite quickly. Now from here we cut across to Gollum leading Frodo and Sam through the Dead Marshes. Taking place in chapter 13, this is titled The Passage of the Marshes.
Orcs don't use it. Orcs don't know it. They go round for miles and miles.
One term Gollum uses that has always stuck with me is that he calls the sun Yellowface. He treats it like an ominous presence and hides from it because he says it shows you up. Now we really see Gollum become a companion, which is reflected in the work. Gollum moved quickly, with his head and neck thrust forward, often using his hands as well as his feet. Frodo and Sam were hard put to keep up with him, but he seemed no longer to have any thought of escaping, and if they fell behind, he would turn and wait for them. The movie perfectly captures him singing in croaks, and also his song about catching a fish. The extended edition also gives us that moment where Gollum's nearly sick from eating lembas bread. Frodo broke off a portion of a wafer and handed it to him on its leaf wrapping. Gollum sniffed at the leaf and his face changed. A spasm of disgust came over it, and a hint of his old malice. Now this is a site that we visited before, and this is where the prologue of Fellowship took place. There we witnessed the Battle of Dagorlad, which is why there's all these dead elves here. Gollum explains in the book how they fought upon the land, with the battle going all the way to the Black Gate. Since then, the marshes expanded and ended up swallowing the graves. They talk about how there's no green there and describe it as a land disease beyond healing. In the pools, when the candles were lit, they lie in the pools, pale faces, deep under the water. I saw them, grim faces and evil, and noble faces and sad, many faces proud and fair, and weeds in their silver hair, but all foul, all rotting, all dead. Now in our Fellowship breakdown, we talked about the Barrow-wights and how eerie it was. Ghostly figures were seen in the mist, and it was very much the same vibe. I feel like Jackson just combined the two scenes, as it might have been repetitive to include them both. In the book, Frodo doesn't fall into the water, whereas he gets trapped in a barrow and attacked by the Barrow-wights. The line Gollum says,
"Cold be heart and hand and bone, and cold be travellers far from home."
That actually comes from the Barrow-wight chapter in the book. So you can see how it's brought across, but I love the way they handle it here, with it highlighting the horrors of war. Tolkien was said to have seen bodies like this on the battlefield during World War I. No Man's Land was often a muddy mess where puddles and water would collect. It saw Tolkien came across bodies like this, and it made him realise how terrifying it was. Beyond just bombs and explosions, you have these lively ghostless figures that surround you. It adds to the horror, and we see that when Frodo goes in head first. Here we see our first sights of ghosts, which are later reflected in Return of the King. They're ripped right out of a horror movie, and the green spectres nearly pull him in. Gollum ends up saving his life though, which highlights he actually cares. Now the work tells us that even though he's helping them, they still don't trust him. The pair agree to take shifts to spy on him, with Sam taking the first. Guy falls asleep though, great job, and he wakes up having lost 9 hours. Gollum's nowhere to be seen, but he ends up coming back, his mouth covered in dead bugs. Nice. In the film though, we see Frodo lying awake with him caressing the ring. Gollum Gollum is doing the same thing, highlighting the two being similar to each other. Ultimately, Frodo knows deep down that this pathetic creature is what he could become. It works so well as a metaphor for addiction and what it can lead to. Interestingly, I also noticed that Sam calls Frodo Master as well, which is a term Gollum uses throughout. So to me, this kind of paints out the pair as being a devil and angel on Frodo's shoulders. One's pulling him towards home and things like the Shire, whereas the other's leading him to a lonely life with the ring. Finally though, Frodo treats him like a person and he uses his true name Smeagol. We see something stirring in the creature and his eyes widen to highlight he's coming out. Now the original plan here was to have his backstory fade in and then we'd see how he got the ring. However, this scene was shifted to the opening of Fellowship, though I do think it would have worked here really well. Either way, this scene humanizes Gollum and it slowly pulls him back from the dock. It's a good thing too because the work tells us that their fates are wholly in his hands. We get fast passages explaining the journey through the land and how it's a weary and tiresome trek. There's not a bird in sight, but something's off.
Hasn't been sighting or sound of a bird for 2 days.
It also says every so often Gollum will pause, stand at full height and then crane his neck. At one point he hears a great shriek and something appears on the horizon. A small cloud flying from the accursed hills, a black shadow loosed from Mordor, a vast shape winged and ominous. It scudded across the moon and with a deadly cry went away westward, outrunning the wind in its fell speed. It's definitely playing off the bird spies in the Fellowship, but in the end we see its wraiths on wings.
They fly now! They fly now!
Now the wraith here comes on the back of a fell beast. Though some people refer to this as a dragon, Tolkien actually had the creatures as being like pterodactyls. They can't breathe fire, but what they do is offer protection from the skies. This is why the eagles can't just fly them to Mordor, because there's a chance that this could take them down. I did wonder if this was playing off the Battle of Britain, with the eagles being metaphors for Spitfires. Let me know below if you agree or not, if you think there's more metaphors, but from here on they're completely filled with fear. The remainder of that journey was a shadow of growing fear in which memory could find nothing to rest upon. Now at this point we could have crossed to Aragorn and co. This takes us into chapter 5, which is titled The White Rider. I wasn't able to verify this, but apparently that was one of the titles they floated about when they were thinking of reworking the Two Towers. There is a line in the book about how he's returned as the White Rider in order to combat the Black Ones. Those are of course the alias of the Nazgul, so he's been brought back to fight against them. The chapter begins with a group waking up at the fire looking for the signs of the old man's footprints. Finding a Lembas bread leaf in the daylight, it's here they put together the pieces of Pippin's escape. Coming across a knife, they go into Batman detective mode and follow their tracks into the forest. However, they witness someone stalking them. It is he. Cannot you see him passing from tree to tree? Initially they didn't spot him because he was wearing dirty grey rags which blended into the trees. Aragorn warns, do not let him speak, which is a line that comes directly from the work. The whole scene is really accurate to the text, with them playing out the dialogue line for line. This includes Gandalf saying they met someone they did not expect and the fearful responses the group have. We see how powerful he is as he's able to destroy their weapons with ease. Jackson also really messes with your head as he has both the voice of Liam McKellen.
We're tracking the footsteps of two young hobbits. They passed this way.
Jackson also plays flashes of Lee's eyes through CGI, with the figure's face morphing throughout. The group's frozen in place, with the reveal being a big moment for the characters. There he stood, grown suddenly tall, towering above them. His hood and his grey rags were flung away.
Watching that back, it's actually insane how good that is, bro.
His white garment shone. He lifted up his staff, and Gimli's axe leaped from his grasp and fell ringing on the ground. The sword of Aragorn, stiff in his motionless hand, blazed with a sudden fire. Legolas gave a great shout and shot an arrow high into the air. It vanished in a flash of flame. "Mithrandir!" he cried. "Mithrandir!" Now that's an alias of Gandalf, with us getting the line,
"That was my name."
Obviously they changed it in the movie, so they're not just introducing a nickname we haven't heard before. It's in this cell that he then tells us what's going on with the ring and how the eagles fell.
Willow's dead in the chair, yeah.
He told him, eh? Now in the work, they actually explain a lot more of their plan, which kind of gets skirted around in the movies. I do think this
Born, I have to agree with you.
included because it's
I
a big part that
mean,
explains what it is that's going on.
but the
Gandalf
first part of
says
that statement,
Sauron's aware of the Fellowship and
Tier
knows
6
that
is
a hobbit
alright.
has the ring. He's under the impression it's with Merry and Pippin, which explains to him why Aragorn and the gang ran after them. He thinks that if they were heading to Mordor, they would have allowed them to get taken. The gang would have then continued to Mordor and cut their losses with the two hobbits. He didn't think that Aragorn would have put so much importance in saving two little halflings. So he thinks that they're travelling to Minas Tirith, which Gandalf's happy to play into. This is why in Return of the King, he makes it his mission to take Pippin there. That we should seek to destroy the ring itself has not yet entered his darkest dream. He believes they're going to try and use the ring as a weapon, which Sauron knows will fail. Now, they want to keep up the facade, as it means Sauron will send his forces to Gondor. This means that Mordor will be less guarded, so the distraction's extremely important. This is why Gandalf tells them to go to Theoden, as they need to recruit an army for the battle that's coming. At the hour mark on the extended edition, we do get a scene where they lay this all out. This is missing from the theatrical, and I always remembered it from the Two Towers game. It actually was the scene that took place in the Return of the King section, so I feel like they shifted it for the extended edition. Aragorn says,
You still speak in riddles.
which is a line that comes directly from the work. Here Gandalf's describing how Merry and Pippin are like the stones that start off an avalanche, and that they're forces that will cause the dam to break. It's here in the book that Gandalf also tells of Moria, and we discover more of the battle. The work explains how Gandalf was burned and plunged into the deep waters of the abyss. Battling from there, they then went up to Celebdil, which is the tower at the top of the mountain. In death, he says he was naked before being sent back, and it's believed this was by Eru Ilúvatar, which I can't pronounce, but he's basically the god in the Lord of the Rings universe. There I lay staring up while the stars wheeled overhead, and each day was as long as the life age of the earth. Faint to my ears came the gathered rumour of all lands, the spring and the dying, the song and the weeping, and the slow everlasting groan of overburdened stone. And so at last, Gwaihir the Wind Lord found me again, and he took me up and bore me away. Gandalf was then actually taken to Lothlorien, where the elves nursed him back to health. Jackson considered including this scene, but I think it's better they just have him return healed. Finally though, the group decide to leave the forest, and Gandalf whistles to Shadowfax. In the book, they explain he's the Lord of Horses, and we see this respect in the characters around him. As he rides in, Shadowfax bows his head, and Legolas and Gimli bow their heads in return. I love how, as McKellen approaches him, he does this little wink as well, and it's just subtle things that highlight their friendship. Now, there was the rumour going around that you could see Gandalf wearing white Converses during this scene. This has since been debunked, with the creative team saying it's just the way his boots were covered by his trousers. What he does though is wear Pippin's leaf clasp to keep his cloak in place. Now in the source material, we learn that two of the horses are called Hasafel and Arod. They change things slightly for the movie, as in the book they're the ones that Shadowfax brings with him, whereas in the movie, you know, they're the ones that Éomer gifts. I actually prefer that though, because it keeps the focus on Shadowfax, but we do learn in the work they are loyal to the Horse Lord. It says they came almost like awaiting orders, and Shadowfax commands them to ride. From here, they gallop across the land with Shadowfax guiding the way. The horse basically has a built-in sat-nav that takes them the shortest route through the quickest streams and passages. It's here where the chapter ends ominously, and I feel like it inspired the Red Sky bit. Looking out over the great plain, far away the riders saw it for a moment like a red fire sinking into the grass. Low upon the edge of sight shoulders of the mountains glinted red upon either side. A smoke seemed to rise up and darken the sun's disk to the hue of blood, as if it had kindled the grass as it passed down under the rim of the earth. There lies the gap of Rohan, said Gandalf. It is now almost due west of us. That way lies Isengard. I see great smoke, said Legolas. What may that be? Battle and war, said Gandalf. Ride on! Now from here we jump to Frodo to play out chapter 14, titled The Black Gate is Closed. Whoa, spoiler alert there, mate. Here we find them looking out to Cirith Gorgon, which is nicknamed the Teeth of Mordor. Based on the work of John Howe and Alan Lee, it's a vast expansive gate of death. Described as the Haunted Pass, it's the main entrance to the land of the enemy. In days long past, they were built by the men of Gondor in their pride and power. After the overthrow of Sauron and his flight, lest he should seek to return to his old realm, but the strength of Gondor failed, and men slept, and for long years the tower stood empty. Then Sauron returned. Seizing them, they've now been filled with countless eyes and a garrison with ceaseless vigilance. We then get the armies marching, though we don't get the cloak scene in the book. Now, these are Easterlings who we meet at this point in the movie. Sam asks if they've got an Oliphant, and in the book he busts out a poem. Grey as a mouse, big as a house, nose like a snake, I make the earth shake. Goes on, yeah, but I'll not do your head in. In the book, they end up waiting for hours, but realise there's absolutely no gap. Gollum says that it's pointless, and they ask why he brought them there. He says because the master told him to, and it cements they should really start to listen to him. In the end, Frodo says he'll go alone, as he doesn't want to put the two in danger. However, just like the movie, Gollum begs him not to go and says it will lead to him getting the precious. Gollum actually never calls Sauron Sauron in the Wurg, and instead always refers to him as him. I love how he also desperately begs him to stay and paws at his cloak like a cat. He's trying to do whatever he can, and yeah, it's just a cute little thing. It's in this that Gollum also brings up how there's another way. He ends up muttering something in the book, which Sam can't hear. In hindsight, we know this is Shelob, which plays into a scene that we get in the story. The night before, Sam lay awake and could hear Smeagol talking to himself. Fascinated with the debate, he notices that Gollum constantly says she. Something they also notice in the sky is the black shadows that keep flying by. So in the end, they decide to go around. Now in the extended edition, we get a play off the scene from Fellowship. This is Merry and Pippin getting trapped by a tree, which is based off the bit with Old Man Willow. There it was Tom Bombadil who pulled them out, whereas here they gave that scene to Treebeard. In it though, they also drink a bit of water, which helps them to grow. It's an okay scene if you're a fan of the work, but I can totally see why this was cut down. Now after this, we see Gandalf and co arriving at Edoras. The chapter in the works titled The King of the Golden Hall, and we begin with them arriving at the location. Edoras is breathtaking, and it was created in New Zealand on Mount Sunday. The thatched huts and halls took over 6 months to build, but they didn't
You know
waste
what?
the space.
I'm gonna hop
Interiors
off, boys.
doubled as offices and mess halls where the cast
I'm
and
falling
crew
asleep
could
here.
pick up their lunch. As we go through the kingdom, we see
Peace.